6 a.m. in the Mile High City. You're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show as people everywhere stumble around from waking up after a late night watching basketball.
Yeah, you kept watching it?
To a point when they were up by like 20, I was like, all right, I think I can go. I think there was like 5 minutes left.
I was done at halftime. I'm like, I can't do it anymore. I'm just too tired. I had early mornings on Saturday and Sunday, so I'm already sleep deprived. So I'm like, no, I can't do that.
That opening is very accurate then.
Yeah, it really is. It totally is. And I didn't have a dog in the fight. It was fun to watch. I enjoyed it, but it wasn't involved emotionally enough to stay up that late. But it's great. UConn, back to back. Saw that this morning. That's cool. That was really cool.
It was fun to watch those games, and then right, it's March Madness, and people that have no idea what they're doing win the brackets, which is the funniest part. In our family, I love my wife; she doesn't know anything about.
Oh yeah. That's why.
And she won. So congratulations to Nicole.
And I love that. And so everybody, congratulations, Nicole. I love everybody that spends all that time and they pour over the bracket. And normally it's just the randomness. And so it was years ago I gave up on the idea of filling out a bracket and doing it with any sort of science. Oh, it's like random. Just who cares? Yeah, at that point, because you have just as much of a shot as anybody else. I love that.
We've got an absolutely jam-packed show. We're going to get into Donald Trump and the abortion statement that was made yesterday. I'd love to hear what you all think of this. Here's why this is important.
Yeah.
Look, Republicans have not won on abortion ballot since the fall of Roe v. Wade, period. It doesn't matter which way it is, pro-life, pro-abortion, whatever it is. If it's on the ballot, the culture has voted against the sanctity of life. Even in generally red states. And so this is going to be a big issue for Democrats. They recognize the opportunity they have on this issue, and they're going to drive. And so
they are.
We're going to host Marilyn Musgrave in the 9 o'clock hour. You may remember that name. She was a representative from Colorado at one point. She is going to be joining us. She's now the vice president of government affairs for the Susan B. Anthony list, and they had some interesting takes on that. They were not happy. Susan B. Anthony, Trump is wrong. Abortion leaders are looking for a national leader. The national conversation must continue. The geography of where you live shouldn't determine whether you live. That's from Marjorie Dannenfelser, who's the president of Susan B. Anthony list. So Democrats are going to capitalize on this. They have the wind at their back, and they're going to make this an issue to counteract what I think is the really big issue in this election, which is illegal immigration. So if you're a Democrat strategist, how do you counter illegal immigration? You can't, right? Joe Biden is completely inept on this. Kamala Harris is completely inept on this. They don't even really care. They barely showed up when they had to go down there anyway. So how do you counteract that? If that's the top issue, you try to make something else equally an important issue.
Yeah. And I think this is exactly it, because this will transcend demographic and socioeconomic lines. This really does transcend, because I spent some time going to school and working in Pueblo, Colorado, which I still refer to as the biggest small town in America. And I understood, based on some of the jobs that I have, how some people say things very virtuous in public and turn around and do something very, very different in private. And I know of two very prominent families where their daughters went on a vacation and were not there for a while. And there were reasons. But the real reason is because they were getting rid of a kid. It was an abortion trip, and they were getting out of the city, and they weren't going to have it done there anywhere it could be traced back. And she was going to spend a couple of months recovering and then come back, and everything was going to be, hey, we did this great vacation. And so, but yet in public, they were very strong pro-lifers, really strong. But when it came down to choices, they made different ones. So I understand that sometimes, even in those very conservative communities, there are secrets. And people keep them. And so this is going to be an issue that is going to be difficult for Republicans. And personally, we can get into this later. I think Donald Trump probably picked the absolute worst position he could have.
Interesting.
But we'll get into that later.
I do want to hear. I have written a statement, which I'll be reading later in the show. Because if you look, many of you probably don't know my background.
Mine's an interpretive dance. So it's going to be more, lots more music and there's lighting. So, and I'm kidding.
This is the most important political issue for me by far.
Yeah.
And there's a lot that are very important to me. Second Amendment, parental rights, religious freedom, all that stuff. Sanctity of life is the most important political issue for me.
Yeah. And I think you reflect much of the GOP electorate. I think it is for them as well. Personally, that's just my feeling though.
Yeah, I think you're probably right. So later in the show, you're not going to want to miss that. I think it'll probably make some news. I'll be reading a statement on my reflections on yesterday's statements by Donald Trump. And I'd love to get your sense on this. So throughout the show today, feel free to call in. This is going to be an issue that even though we dive into some other stuff, we'll continue to take calls throughout the show. So did Donald Trump do right? Charlie Kirk thought he did.
Yeah. Are you happy with this?
Mike Pence? Yeah. Nah, not at all. No, and we'll read those a little bit later. But 303-696-1971, 303-696-1971, or text us on the 710 KNUS app. One of the stories I want to cover this morning, Denver Post, Xcel Energy's unprecedented step to cut power during high winds gets blowback. Utility made decision out of caution, but thousands affected wanted better communication next time. Xcel Energy Colorado took the unprecedented step of cutting power to some parts of the Front Range to minimize the risk of wildfires as strong winds walloped the region over the weekend, a move that stirred up its own storm of concerns. Xcel, Colorado's largest electric utility, started considering a proactive shutdown of power Friday when forecasts called for wind gusts up to 100 miles an hour along the foothills. Saturday into Sunday, and sustained winds up to 55 miles an hour for the Interstate 25 corridor. The company cut off electricity to about 55,000 customers in 6 counties Saturday afternoon. Surprise. When the winds started roaring. That's right. A total of roughly 150,000 Xcel customers lost power, either because of lines being shut down out of precaution or wind damage. As of 6 p.m. on Monday, the utility reported 722 outages, affecting 15,000 customers. Xcel expects to restore 90% of the power by the end of Tuesday. Were you affected by this? I'd love to hear from our listeners if this was something that directly affected you. It didn't affect us, but if you read this whole story, this is something we brought upon ourselves.
Yeah, in what way?
Lawsuits.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I would agree. I would absolutely agree that they have to pull back and turn things off, because if anything does go wrong, they are going to get sued. In fact, there's something on KMGH on their website this morning. Let me see if I can find it real quickly. There's a Louisville food bank that loses 2,000 pounds of food during the preemptive power outage. And so that's a lawsuit. That's going to be a lawsuit. And they're going to say you weren't giving us notice and things like that. But yeah, you're right that the companies are forced to do this because we want to sue them for everything and anything.
Do you know how many lawsuits Xcel has from that last fire, the Marshall fire?
Oh, I would say a ton. I have no idea.
300.
Wow. Jeez.
Can you imagine being the attorney for Xcel?
Oh, yeah. And having to fund 300. And then you wonder why they're trying to raise our rates. They're always saying, oh, no, it's more expensive. Well, it's more expensive because of that, probably. But, oh, man.
Xcel, this is from the Denver Post. Xcel Energy faces nearly 300 lawsuits by homeowners, local governments, and even the retail giant Target over the Marshall fire. Xcel disputes that its equipment started one of the fires that merged into one other massive wildfire. Yeah. Did we do this to ourselves? I think we kind of did.
Yeah.
Now, it can be their complaint about communication. Sure. But if you sue these companies into the ground during the last wildfire, they're just going to shut it off all the power. They're not going to take the risk.
No, not at all. They're not going to. They're going to say we're going to have to, just because of safety and to protect, just the operating costs. Yeah. And you're going to find much more of this, where you're going to have a lot of these rolling brownouts and blackouts because of things like this, because you can't. The other part, though, is that it also says something where Xcel is like, oh yeah, we still have those things in the air that can blow over and start fires. Yeah, we could bury them and prevent this, but no. You don't understand that. Then we make less money. You don't understand how this works. We make less money when we do that. So no, we're not doing that. We instead would prefer to just turn your power off.
Let's go to the news with Blake Olson. Good morning, Blake.
Hey, good morning, Jeff.
Did you stay up to watch the game?
I did. It was anticlimactic. I'm not a big UConn fan.
Yeah, you mentioned that yesterday. What has UConn done to you, Blake? I'm interested in that.
You know what? I don't like their logo, their colors, and it's UConn. I mean, come on. The best thing that ever came out of UConn was Jesus Shuttlesworth. That was a great movie. So, Ray Allen. We can talk about that later. But good morning. 34 and clear in Denver, expecting sunny skies and highs in the low 60s today. The 7-10 5-day forecast coming up. Our top story, millions of people traveling home from viewing the eclipse will pay higher gas prices. They're highest in California at $5.37 a gallon. But here in Colorado, gas prices are the cheapest at $3.06 a gallon. So a positive to start your Tuesday today. Supporters say it's an effort to prevent mass shootings. Opponents say it's yet another attack on the Second Amendment. The first gun proposal introduced this legislative session is headed to Governor Polis's desk. The House approved it Monday. The bill would track gun and ammo purchases through payment networks. Yes, banks and credit cards. Xcel Energy says 90% of customers who've been without power due to the windstorm should have power back on by sometime this morning. 500 utility crew members worked overnight to restore power. Some Jeffco schools will remain closed today until they get their power back. Stober and Maple Grove are two of the elementary schools. The North Glen City Council has unanimously approved an emergency ordinance that increases the distance between sex offenders and schools. Many parents are angry that a former senior care facility is being converted to transitional housing for mental health patients, including registered sex offenders, near two elementary schools, a daycare, and a playground. The emergency ordinance increases required distance from 750 feet to 1,000 feet. Denver and Decay police searching for a white or Hispanic male, 22 to 49 years old, who's accused of exposing himself twice on RTD's A-line. He weighs about 180 pounds and he's 5'11 to 6'5. Quite a range in height right there. He has tattoos on his arms and scalp. And you can contact Metro Denver Crime Stoppers if you have any information on him. As you drive around this morning in Westminster, enjoy Pothole Palooza, the 4-day event. We'll see 3,000 potholes filled. It's the first annual. And another wolf attack on livestock in Colorado. A rancher in Jackson County found a dead calf Sunday. The tracks confirmed it was one of the 10 gray wolves released to roam in Colorado in December. It's 31 in Aurora, 29 in Lafayette, 34 in Denver. News brought to you by Lair Fireplace and Patio, Denver's premier source for everything fireplace, patio, and grills. I love this place. Locally owned and operated since 1954. Online at lairfireplacepatio.com.
It is a UConn coronation. The Huskies make history. Back-to-back national champions.
Oh, the Hurley family all excited. UConn runs past Purdue in the men's college basketball championship, 75-60. It's their second straight title. Nuggets return to action tonight at Utah, 7 o'clock tip-off. Avalanche playing host to the Wild this evening at 7:30.
Nothing easy for the Rockies the first week and a half of the season, but they secure their third win of the year.
Drew Goodman and the Rockies win 7-5 over the Diamondbacks last night, 6:40 tonight at Coors Field. So they have won 3 games. All right. The award-winning Jeff and Bill show continues on this Tuesday. Blake Olson, News Talk 710 KNUS.
The 710 5-day forecast, partly cloudy skies, temperatures upper 50s and low 60s today, mid to upper 30s tonight. Highs will be 55 to 60 tomorrow. Now, today and tonight should be dry. There's a small chance of an isolated rain shower, isolated thunderstorm Wednesday afternoon. Fair and chilly, low 30s Wednesday night. Sunny, low to mid 60s on Thursday, 30s and 40s Thursday night, then warming well into the 70s for Friday through Sunday. Meteorologist Don Day on 710 KNUS. The 710 5-day forecast, partly cloudy.
You're listening to the Jeff and Bill show. In the 6 o'clock hour, we're discussing Xcel Energy's unprecedented step to cut power during high winds. Gets a little bit of a blowback after the last Marshall fire. They are dealing with nearly 300 lawsuits from homeowners, local governments, and the retail giant Target over the fire. So in light of that, they're like, nah, we're not going to risk it anymore. Shut it down. And so 55,000 customers over the weekend didn't get any power, and a lot of complaints over the fact that this just wasn't communicated to them. Bill, you're on the Jeff and Bill show this morning. Good morning, Bill. How are you?
Well, I'm doing great. So, I don't know in this specific situation, but I'm speculating because based on other things is that it's insurance companies that sue often in these cases.
Yeah, I think you're correct in many of the cases, and normally the companies will sue, again, based on the individual case. So if you're a State Farm homeowner, if you're a Liberty Mutual homeowner, they then can turn around and they would then sue. In some cases, depending again on the claim and some other stuff, they would then sue to recover and go through mitigation. Yeah.
Well, and in my mind, it's just a clarification as a footnote to using the word we. When you say we did this, well, we did do this, but it isn't the individual homeowners generally. It's the insurance companies just thinking. So
I think in some cases, yeah, but I also think that there are some cases where it is the individual homeowner and losses from the homeowner, because a homeowner is looking at, hey, I want to have my house built back to, as good, if not better. And part of, I think, what's happening with the Marshall fire and where some of these lawsuits come from are changes in codes, because some of those houses, once they burnt down, in order to rebuild, because certain building codes have changed, it makes them infinitely more expensive based on your electricity and stuff like that.
yeah, exactly. It's so complicated. It's the old joke that why insurance premiums are so high.
Why?
So insurance companies can hire lawyers to deny your claim.
That is an excellent point.
Is this a little bit like the BP disaster? Do you remember that oil rig that blew up in the Gulf Coast, and then everybody was trying to get paid if you were in any capacity affected by it? You were a crawfish fisherman, and I understand there were some legitimate people, but I think there was also, where there's money, there's going to be a rush of people to try to get some of it. Do you think this is a little bit similar to that? All those lawsuits, 300 plus lawsuits over the last fire?
Well, yeah. And I know 300, but how many homes were there lost? 1,000. It almost seems like there should be more. I'm halfway speak on that, but so, yeah, I think it's similar. We're a litigious society, but, people sometimes run lawyers for that. But back in the old days, it would be whoever was strongest would win those battles, right? If you had the bigger army or the more guns, you didn't have to. So I think lawyers serve a function to cool things down in that situation. But I'm just commenting about footnote to the we. By the way, if you got a moment for a quick talk about that gun bill?
Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
Sure.
So when I was reading Ken Buck's book, which if you want to get irate about the way money is used in D.C., read that book. But he had 2 quotes in there that have stuck with me. One by John Adams and one by James Madison. And I'm going to paraphrase them. I'm in my car. But basically they say this: the Constitution was created for a moral and religious society. And it's wholly inadequate to deal with other than that.
That's right.
And I can't think I can't think of a single example that's more prescient than the Second Amendment, where those of us that own firearms, I would include myself in that, the chances that I would use mine in an illegal or damaging fashion are close to zero, because I consider myself a moral and religious man. But of course, there are people out there that end up with guns that don't satisfy. And it just, that Second Amendment gets kind of a crazy compromise.
Bill, you're exactly right. The Second Amendment and the idea of citizens owning their own weapons can only function in a moral and religious society. You're exactly right. And you get rid of morals and values and all that, and you're going to end up with godlessness. And then in this country, you have well-armed godlessness. Which isn't good.
Now, what I'm hearing of both Jeff and Bill, what I'm hearing, though, is it's almost like you guys are lamenting where we are as a society and are actually making the argument for more gun restrictions, saying that because we're not moral and we're not righteous, then we shouldn't be able to, we can't handle our firearms. Is that what we're saying here?
Well, here's the thing.
Prayer in schools.
I know, but is that the issue? Is that we're taking away the guns now?
Well, I think the facts should lead you to questioning your decisions in these matters. And I know that personally, I feel less safe the more guns that are sold, because I think it increases the chances that they end up in the wrong people's hands.
Yeah, and I also, the thing is that I've got, and I understand the argument about morality, but I look at the idea that I am not convinced that we're all handling our guns as we should to begin with right now. Given how we are handling them, there's a small group of people that are ruining it for the rest of us. There's a story. I don't think I'm going to do it in You Choose the News this week, but there was a story recently where a dude's at Chipotle, gets in an argument with the person behind the counter about his order, and guacamole shoots the person over guacamole. So that's where we are. The idea that I'm keeping my gun to keep me safe, and that's the idea, is that I'm wearing my sidearm in case I'm confronted and I have to defend my life or someone else, or they screw up my guacamole, then that's a shooting. I just, the decision-making we're having with this is real questionable.
I'll tell you what I'm more concerned about, though, and the reason why we have the Second Amendment, it's all nice that you can have it for self-defense and hunting and that type of stuff, is a moral, godless government. So I'm far more concerned if the only people that have guns are a moral, godless government. So, Bill, your thoughts?
I can't argue with that either. It's enigmatic. I was just pointing out, that. But you're right. I agree with you. You don't want only the government to have firearms. That's just not a good position.
I appreciate the call, Bill. Bill's line will be open if you want to give us a call. 303-696-1971, 303-696-1971, or text us on the 710 KNUS app. Do you blame Xcel for shutting off power?
Oh,
especially after they, lawsuits, 300 lawsuits. If you were the CEO of Xcel and, you were partly to blame for a massive wildfire a few years ago, wouldn't you just shut it down too?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. But you can also be blamed for it. You can also say, I made the decision. So, that's what I do, is he made the decision. All right, you made the decision. I can blame you for it. And then we can discuss whether or not it's a really good decision or not. But I get it. I get why they made the decision. And if I'm in that seat, and they say, well, here are some of the possible consequences, and it is, we start a fire, or we do this and this, and it's going to lead to this many lawsuits again. Okay, I'd probably have to make the choice to turn it off.
Click.
Yeah, have to.
Hey, folks, it's Jeff on behalf of the Colorado Farm Bureau. Whether you pulled out your skis or snowmobiles this last winter, it was a great year for winter fun. But the snow means even more to Colorado's agriculture, and I want you to know that our state's farmers and ranchers are doing their part to protect our future water resources. The people of Colorado agriculture continue improving the efficiency of their irrigation systems and adopting farming practices that help crops use less water to grow. They're planting drought-resistant variants, and they're leading talks with state policymakers about how to preserve water supplies when we have good years like this last one. My friends at the Colorado Farm Bureau are leaders in water conservation and water policy. They understand how to balance water for crops and water for families, and they're doing more with less. You can do your part. I recommend you join and become a member today. Go to coloradofarmbureau.com That's coloradofarmbureau.com to join. We'll get to your calls and texts. You're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show.
News Talk 710, KNUS.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. Brandon Tatum is right. Next Friday, April 19th, we're going to be at the Black Eyed Pea.
You're putting us
Hanging
in public.
We were talking yesterday with our operations manager as to whether or not Bill needs to wear one of those dog attack suits.
Yeah, that's what I think I should. I should wear those dog attack suits just because. I'm sure someone's going to come in. No, surface dog, and then sick them. Right. It's like it's like in Stand By Me, sick balls, Chopper, sick balls. That's what I'm going to have. They're going to yell at me.
When we were down at the state assembly, the Republican state assembly over the weekend, and a lot of people were asking where Bill was. They came by. Is
not
Bill
a
here?
good thing.
Is Bill here?
Yeah, they wanted to
clench fists and all.
Exactly. Some guy with that baseball bat, like tapping his hand. Yeah, I got something to talk to him
about. So next Friday, April 19th, from 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. at the Black Eyed Pea in Castle Rock, we'll be hanging out with Brandon Tatum. Come by, meet us. Meet Brandon, have some delicious food from the Black Eyed Pea. All of this and all the details available at 710knus.com.
It'd be great to see your faces.
710knus.com.
So cool.
Yeah, we've got a lot of regulars that text in and call in.
Nice.
Even our friend from Nebraska. Come on.
I know.
Come on in.
It'd be great to see Jacqueline there. That'd be great. Oh, man.
She was reminding us that Xcel Energy is owned by George Soros.
Oh.
And you brought up an interesting fact about all the shutdowns.
Yeah, I think this is, again, it's a theory that I found on the interwebs, so I haven't been able to verify this yet. But the theory is that George Soros directed the power to only be shut off in the Republican houses. So that was the issue.
It was a dry run for the election,
it was, just
right?
in case,
You're not going to be able to open your garage door.
Yeah, they're going to shut it all down, and they're going to hope you oversleep, and you're going to miss it, and they're also going to suspend all of your mail carrier service, so you can't mail anything out either. So, yeah.
Hey, is your student ready to live out their faith and prepare for their future career? For over 100 years, Colorado Christian University has been educating the next generation of Christian leaders in a distinctly Christ-centered community. CCU is the premier interdenominational Christian university in the Rocky Mountain region. They have 2% of all colleges nationwide for their rigorous academics. Students can choose from over 100 undergraduate programs ranging from psychology, entrepreneurship, theology, and engineering to their nationally acclaimed nursing and education programs. CCU cultivates real faith that equips students for all areas of life. Their small campus and Christ-centered community set CCU apart. At CCU, students are known by name, not by a number. Professors are mentors, developing students spiritually and professionally. No matter what degree path they choose, your student will graduate from Colorado Christian University ready to impact the world with grace and truth. To learn more and apply, go to ccu.edu/apply. That's ccu.edu/apply. All right, Bill, let's do You Choose the News.
All righty, sir. Despite everybody's suggestions, yes, again, we are going to play You Choose the News. Everyone's favorite fake radio news game show, moving it a little earlier because we found out the people in charge are waking up earlier. There were some questions last week. And so, again, got to help us out here. They have no idea we are playing this fake radio news game. I've spent maybe 2.5 minutes this morning finding really stupid stories because we do a lot of dumb things and then giving them even more ridiculous headlines to play this fake radio news game. Why? Because, well, insofar, again, they don't know we're doing it. All righty, sir. And Blake Olson joining us from the news department. Here we go. Headline number 1. Proudly meeting the company's standard. Headline number 2, shaking it up. Headline number 3, misdirected anger. And headline number 4, discount disagreement. All right, Mr. Hunt, choose carefully.
Shake it up. Shake it up.
Shaking it up. Cars reference.
Shake it up.
One Pennsylvania man may end up having one of the most memorable earthquake experiences that happened Friday last week. You remember when we had the earthquake in New York, New Jersey? Well, this man happened to be on the surgery table during the earthquake. And not just any surgery. They were taking care of little Jim and the twins. He was doing vasectomy surgery during the middle of the earthquake. Yeah, that's going to really clench things up quickly. He said that, I'm going to have a story for years to come. But he did say that the surgeon at the time, Curse, said, "Holy curse word, this is okay," and stepped away from the table for a minute. He said that felt good, that he at least stepped away and didn't want to do that anymore.
Back real quick.
Exactly. And he said, "That's an earthquake, right?" And the doctor's like, "Yeah, I think that was an earthquake." So, yeah, that could have gone very bad.
So when I was younger, one of my buddies was going to med school, right? And
he wanted to do surgery on it?
And, well, this is exactly. Yes, actually.
Oh, no.
So, they're brand new into med school, right? And they're like, "I'm a doctor." And then he turns to us. We're all sitting around hanging out. I think we were down in Florida drinking some beers and on a boat. And he goes, I could do a vasectomy in the garage with a soldering iron. We all looked at him. We're like, Phil, we appreciate the fact you can do that. I don't think any of us are going to take you up on that offer.
You guys did rock, paper, scissors to see who was the first patient. No? Okay.
Let's let our friend try out his new medical skills.
Yeah, with the soldering iron.
A soldering iron in a garage.
I'm sure that's totally sanitary.
Right. And he's a surgeon for the Air Force now.
Oh, that's
enjoy that.
Great. All righty. Second choice this morning, sir. Proudly meeting the company standard, misdirected anger, or discount disagreement.
Let's go discount disagreements.
This is a discount disagreement. We are going to Northeast Ohio for this one. Took place recently in a Cleveland suburb. A gentleman drives up to Burger King and orders his usual breakfast. 2 sausage, egg and cheese croissants, sausage biscuit, hash browns. Person in the drive-thru tells him, sir, that's going to be like $8. And he drives up to the window and says, no, that you've gotten my order wrong. It's usually $11. I get this every week. It's $11. They said, yes, sir, there's a promotion going on. It's $8. He said, no, you've done something wrong. It's $11. And the woman says, no, sir, do you understand? There's a promotion. It's discounted. And the man at that point steps out of his car, pulls out his firearm, points it at the person behind the window and says, I disagree. And the conversation, according to the police report, the person is like, sir, I don't understand why you're asking to pay more money, but if you want to pay more money, I will let you. You don't need to do this.
I don't need to die over
this. So now they're looking for him. They got pictures and stuff. They're looking for him. The idea is he was threatening them over paying more money. He wanted to pay more. He wasn't listening to the conversation. This is, again, goes back to our conversation earlier with Bill. Oh, this is not good with the guns sometimes. We make really weird choices.
More godless society and more guns. And that's what you get in a fight over not paying more.
Yeah, exactly.
That reminds me of one time Steve Carell went into the Pawn Stars shop.
Yeah.
And negotiated the other way. Negotiated up.
Yeah.
$400 for this. I'm not going to be able to do that. How about $450?
Yeah, $450. We'll go up. Can't do that one. Alrighty. Blake Olson from the news department. Our final choice this morning: proudly meeting the company standard or misdirected anger.
Proudly meeting the company standard.
Yes, they're proudly meeting the company standard. That is what is happening on the interwebs, Reddit, and other forums. They are saying this is incredible. The Cybertruck is actually meeting all of Tesla's standards. Problem is, the standards weren't that good to begin with. Tesla cars have long had problems with things lining up, things not working, and electricity failing. Now, tales of the stainless steel Cybertruck are making their way around the internet as well. Tales of one dying after traveling just 1 mile away from the dealership. Suffered a massive failure, and the car became a giant paperweight. Southern California-based owner wrote the same day that at one point his truck, for whatever reason, he was passing another truck going the other direction on the road. His truck thought it was an emergency, slammed on the brakes, and shut itself down. He said we had enough room. So over and over again, people are talking about being cut by their Cybertrucks, the things not lining up, but a lot of it seems to be around electricity failures, that there are a whole lot of electrical bugs inside of those trucks. But then again, if you've ever seen some of the videos online, you can put a marble on some of the dashboards, the Teslas, and it rolls one direction because they're not level. So,
really?
That's right.
Yeah. Individual Tesla cars can be built very well. The entire product line is crap. It doesn't meet any quality control standards. It's awful as a whole.
It seems like they're just getting too complicated, right? Well, this is like the other day when we bought, years ago, we bought washers and dryers.
Yeah.
We went for like the old school kind.
Oh, yeah.
Because the ones that are too complicated die out after 6 months.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I don't need my washing machine nor my fridge to connect to the internet. Don't need that. There's not a single
Especially
time.
if George Soros owns Xcel.
Yes, because he's
targeting Republicans.
He's going to turn my washing machine on a hot and shrink all my clothes. And my love of candy and beer is already doing that. I don't need help. That's the problem here. Yeah, the Tesla, the trucks, and they're again a great idea. In my opinion, he made a huge mistake not looking at economies of scale. Almost everything on the Tesla Cybertruck has to be built uniquely for that machine, and he can't use other parts, can't use other production facilities. It's a real nightmare as far as getting it going. If it works, great, but he made it absolutely the most difficult way possible for himself. If you said, hey, I'm going to bring a new vehicle to market, what is the most complicated way I can do this? He chose every one of them. And so we'll see what happens. Yeah.
Hey, Billy, back to that surgery story.
Oh, yes.
You
want us to remove something from you?
to my vasectomy.
And the twins.
Yes.
I hear they're bipartisan. One's
One's
on the left, one's on the right.
If you separate them properly, they need to be, sir. All right.
Sorry, I
love that. That is fantastic. And that's Blake Olson, and that's why we love him. He's going to be back here in just about 20 minutes with the news for you. That's the end of You Choose the News. Enough of the silliness. We need to go back to doing regular stuff. But remember, this You Choose the News segment is not sponsored in any way, shape, or form by Roll 'em Out Shelves. They are reputable. They understand you, and they will solve your problems, unlike You Choose the News. They do free in-home estimates. They will organize your kitchen, bath, garage, whatever it is. See their work today at rollemoutshelves.com. Whatever you do not mention You Choose the News. Mention 710K in the US. They'll treat you nicely. Mention You Choose the News. They'll hit you with something. All righty. Back to you, sir.
All right, lots of news to cover, and thank you to Eric Manning for reminding me of this. Republicans are aiming to impeach Jenna Griswold today. They're going to have a House committee meeting, and it probably won't get out of the committee meeting. There'll be a handful of Republicans that will vote to impeach, and a handful of Democrats that will vote not to impeach.
What are they afraid of?
It won't actually, I think, go to the entire floor.
What are they afraid of? For me, it's if you firmly believe that the Republicans are misguided on this, if you firmly believe that they are wrong and that Jen has done everything correct, then you support her. You go out there and you make the vote and you say, no, we support her and we this person in a party and she's great. But they seem to be trying to avoid that. And the complaint is, well, this is wasting too much time. I'm sorry. Taking the vote is the easiest way to stop wasting the time.
Yep, right?
Yeah, but no, we're not going to do that.
It's like Chuck Schumer won't even bring the impeachment of Mayorkas up
yeah, I know.
in the Senate.
Yeah, he won't.
So it just languishes out there.
Yeah.
And then becomes an argument that the next impeachment, which is where we are. We're in the age of impeachment. If you don't like the guy, you impeach him. And then the next guy doesn't have to bring it up either, I guess. It's kind of wild.
It's the same thing how we have decided that we can ignore congressional subpoenas if the other party's doing them. And we've just agreed to that now. And both parties do it. Both parties are like, well, if it's someone from the other party giving me a subpoena, I will not honor it. But when my party delivers subpoenas, I will accuse the other party of being the worstest people in the entire world. And how could they ever do this? As if we forgot about what happened 4 years ago or 6 years ago. But they both do it. It's stupid.
Ken Starr was a friend, and he stopped by Western Conservative Summit Centennial Institute all the time. And towards the end of his life, he passed away a few years ago. He thought that, and look, this is the chief guy that prosecuted Clinton.
Yep.
He thought that the special prosecutors were an abuse of power.
Interesting. And the issue, and I can see in the interesting thing with him, I thought it was a weird thing to lay in and get a special prosecutor there because it's lying under oath, which is an issue, about an affair. I never thought that was.
Well, he was originally brought in on Whitewater.
Oh, I know.
And then it became,
it became that. And Whitewater that's where it should have been focused. Yeah. But we ended up with, we're going to do this over lying about an affair. And the thing for me, I understand that was the thing you could hang on Clinton that you could get him for, but it didn't seem like that was focused on the functioning or the running of the government. That impacted him on his daily job. I don't. Yeah.
It was. Let's find any way to get our political opponent.
Yeah, and that's what it is, and that's where we are now.
Well, and, you are sleazy if you're sleeping with interns. Sorry.
Oh, absolutely. Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
Did you see this news? Our friend Tay.
Oh yes. Yeah, but I don't know if they're going halvesies on this or what's going on.
I was trying to figure that out too.
Yeah, I'm like, because they don't tell you who's paying what. Yeah.
Tay Anderson and Denver Public Schools to pay $25,000 to settle a lawsuit on Facebook blocking. Tay Anderson and Denver Public Schools will pay a combined $25,000 to settle a lawsuit that was filed in 2023 after Anderson blocked a DPS parent on Facebook, Eve Chen, represented by Newman and McNulty law firm, not Frank McNulty, different one, Andy McNulty, will receive all of that money. Anderson was vice president of the Denver Public School Board at the time. This case started when Chen wrote a reply in the comment section of one of Anderson's posts about transparency in government. Her reply read, "This is the horrible comment," she wrote, to get blocked. Where can I email to ask for an unredacted investigation report reported against you as a taxpayer. As a taxpayer,
Oh, wow.
I think I am entitled to read that too. Bum, bum, bum.
Oh, geez, that's it?
Yeah, I know.
Wow.
Anderson deleted the comment and blocked her. Oh, boy. Chen claimed that she was deprived of her constitutional rights and filed a lawsuit in September of 2023. Okay, so Tay Anderson's one thing.
Yeah, totally.
Why this is relevant is because recently in the state House and Senate, they passed a law that allows elected officials to block people on their social media profiles.
Yeah.
So what the bigger issue is going to be is whether or not this moves forward as a constitutional challenge against that law. Because
I didn't think of that. Yeah.
have been blocked by a certain lawmaker, Timmy Hernandez. Timmy Hernandez.
Yeah.
Blocked me. I don't know why. I was,
Yeah.
pointing out his rampant anti-Semitism. But
That's weird.
yeah, I am not allowed to petition my
That's
elected
interesting.
official.
And it's the thing is that I can see, because I am of two minds on this one. I know. I am. And I disagree with the politicians being able to block you, but I also understand how disgusting we can be on social media because of the anonymity. The anonymity allows us to say things that we wouldn't normally say things either online or even in person if we had to put our name to it. So I would like to see more of a compromise on this law. I would like to see that you couldn't block anybody using, like their own verified name. Yeah. If you use a nickname, if I'm,
there's a strong history of pseudonyms in this country.
Oh, I understand that. But the issue being, I get, and that's why it's difficult for me. But I believe the anonymity allows you to be more of an asshat. And I can see that some of these comments can be very, very aggressive and very abusive.
Yep.
I have experience of getting those myself, being involved in media, things that are really aggressive threats and things that are very abusive. So I understand how that happens. And if someone just is allowed to send me a message on my social media over and over and over and over, and it ends up flooding the social media thread and everything like that, I can see that being a problem.
Have you seen these First Amendment activists at city councils?
No, I don't think so.
This is fascinating.
Yeah.
So they call into a city council.
Yeah.
And spew expletives. Just F this.
Wow.
F that.
Okay.
S this. S all that stuff.
Wow.
And then when they get shut off,
they
sue the city council for violation of free speech.
Oh.
So they set it up.
Yeah. Here's the weird part, though, is the difficulty in that lawsuit that would be interesting, and I would love to hear the conversation about this, would be community standards. Because I can censor your speech as a government based on community standards, because this is a public forum and we can decide language that is appropriate in the public forum. And this is a public meeting, and you using expletives in this meeting doesn't necessarily help prove your point, doesn't help you make a point. And when all you're doing is saying a stream of stuff in general, that's not okay, because we wouldn't allow someone during that very same meeting to drop trowel and poop on the floor. But you could say that's my freedom of expression. No, it's not. So you're not verbally allowed to poop on the floor in those type of meetings. Sorry. Hate to break that to you.
Tay Anderson, Denver Public Schools, paying more money. Gosh, what a failure
Don't you think, though, that the
leadership was?
The school district's going to pick up the lion's share of that. Because, and you know why?
He doesn't have anything.
Well, because he'd have a GoFundMe. I mean, we'd have a YouTube video right now about things. I mean, he is asking us to buy just baby diapers and stuff. So, yeah, we know that what it would be is we'd have a GoFundMe meeting and he'd be crying about it. So, yeah.
With all the work I've had done to my teeth, believe me, finding a good dentist makes all the difference. I'd like to tell you about my good friend, Dr. Mike at Rocky Mountain Dental Group. He helps people like you and me look and feel amazing by providing the best dental care available. You can see for yourself all the 5-star reviews at RockyMountainDentalGroup.com. Here's one. Do yourself a favor. Go there. Staff goes beyond expectations, and they provide excellent service, affordable, friendly, reasonable, gentle, careful, kind service. And if you're experiencing recession on your upper or lower gums, ask Dr. Mike about the groundbreaking procedure called pinhole gum rejuvenation technique, a treatment option for those experiencing receding gums. It's scalpel-free, suture-free, and a graft-free procedure. Just a tiny pinhole and gentle repositioning of the gums. Visit RockyMountainDentalGroup.com. That's RockyMountainDentalGroup.com, or call 303-233-1335 for a free consultation. 303-233-1335. We'll get to your calls and texts. You're listening to The Jeff and Bill Show.
News Talk 710, KNUS.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show, 9 o'clock hour. Marilyn Musgrave's going to join us. That's a blast from the past.
It'll be fun.
It'll be cool to catch up with her. She's the VP of Government Affairs for Susan B. Anthony list. They had an op-ed out today. Trump is wrong. Abortion opponents are looking for a national leader. So a critique of Trump's statement on abortion. We're going to get into that all through the 8 and 9 o'clock hour. Your thoughts on that? I have a statement I've prepared. This is probably the most important political issue to me. And I'll give you my analysis and assessment of Donald Trump's statement yesterday. People are kind of all over the map on this. Charlie Kirk thought it was great. Students for Life thought it was great. Susan B. Anthony list thought it was wrong. And you'll get my take on it as well.
Yeah. And I think it's probably the worst position he could have taken. I know. We'll see.
We want to get your calls and thoughts on this. You're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show.
News Talk 710, KNUS.
Seven a.m. in the Mile High City. Good morning, Denver. You've tuned into the Jeff and Bill Show on 710 KNUS. I'm your co-host, Jeff Hunt, along with Bill Thorpe, bringing you the freshest insights, hottest takes from the right, left, center, and crazy. It's going to be a beautiful day in the greatest city in America. Congratulations. You woke up in Denver, Colorado in 2024. We're gearing up for a whole another hour of engaging discussions, critical analysis, and most importantly, your calls and texts, because this is where Denver's voice is heard loud and clear. So grab another cup of coffee, Denver, and let's dive into the issues that matter most to you right here, right now. Saw a great op-ed, Bill.
Yes.
On exactly what we were talking about yesterday.
Oh, what? What is it?
School's out forever as
Oh,
education
yeah.
bosses use any excuse to skip class at this point.
Yeah.
You were talking about the fact that in some areas, they didn't just pause
No.
to go outside and look at the eclipse. They canceled school altogether.
Yeah. There were a number of places across the country that I saw doing that. And they're like, canceling school? What? It's just 4 minutes. Now, did you get a chance to see the eclipse? You go stare at the sun, or what'd you do?
I don't care.
No?
I mean, it's my kids all came out with their glasses on, right?
Yeah,
when I
yeah.
picked them up at school yesterday, and they had a ball, and it was fun. And every politician, our governor included, we're all taking pictures of them with their glasses on.
Isn't it weird that almost every one of those pictures was the same? It was all people's glasses, 45-degree angle looking up. I mean, just all of us. We're just idiots.
And what?
I did
what difference does that make?
I know.
Like in our culture, is it just kind of, maybe we should appreciate the fact they're not screaming at each other.
That's true. It's
By
a weird
the
one.
way.
Yeah. I went out and saw it though. Yeah, but go ahead.
Can we maybe in a second talk about the state party's tweet about Deborah Flora?
Oh, I didn't see that one. Oh man, yeah. Let's do it in a second. I did.
But yeah.
But
maybe we should be happy about the fact that they're not.
Not being
fighting
angry at each other. I went out yesterday. There's like a little part of a trivet that sits inside of our air fryer. And it has a bunch of holes on it. They go from the range of like a $50 piece down to like maybe a penny or a nickel type of size. And so I just went outside and had my back to the sun and just put that up in the air and was able to watch it that way. The thing is that I was doing work for Westwood One at the time.
Yeah.
So I'm on air and I'm doing some stuff and I'm kind of like peeking out thinking, okay, when is it happening? When is it happening? And then the dogs in the neighborhood let me know. All of a sudden, the dogs start barking outside. And I went, wait, that's it. And I went, it's got to be happening now. And I go outside. Sure enough, it's happening. Yeah, because I knew that I've heard about this, the dogs having a reaction, and I'd experienced it 4 years ago. So I knew the animals have some sort of reaction to it. So as soon as all the dogs in the neighborhood started going off, I'm like, that's an alarm. It's happening now. And I was right. That was kind of cool. I just totally guessed. I know, it was really crazy. And again, just being stupid. It wasn't some sort of magical, big brain thing. It was just I think that's a sign. That's all it was. It was just trying to connect 2 and 2 and just walking outside. So tell me about the state party. What did they do yesterday?
I'll get to that in just a second. Yeah. You remember how we were talking about real MAGA just stares at the sun?
Yeah, yeah.
Dude, there were tweets about that yesterday.
No. You're kidding me. Oh, God.
So yesterday, if you go back and watch the video, Donald Trump just looks briefly up.
Yeah.
And I've done that.
Yeah, just to check.
Is Eclipse? Oh, yeah. He looks up briefly, but all the pictures make it look like Trump was like staring at.
Yeah.
And so yesterday we joked. We were like, if you're real MAGA, you're just going to stare at the sun, no glasses on.
Yeah.
And people were posting like that.
No. Oh, and that makes sense because yesterday evening I ran across a story that said Google searches for "my eyes hurt, why do my eyes hurt" increased starkly right after the eclipse. There was this huge spike right here searching "why do my eyes hurt." So that makes sense. Oh,
we'll get to the tweet by the state party in a second. Okay. Oh my gosh. But I want to talk about this. This is an op-ed in Fox published yesterday. Does school matter anymore? After a pandemic response that unreasonably kept schools closed in many cities and towns across the country for far too long, it's hard to say. Chronic absenteeism has exploded. The New York Times noticed it recently in a piece called "Why School Absences Have Exploded Almost Everywhere." The Times largely blamed the pandemic instead of the response to the pandemic. Yes, it was the pandemic that closed schools in March of 2020, but it was backward, misguided policies that kept them closed in the fall of 2020 and beyond. Sometimes it was malice. In February 2021, the Biden administration allowed Randy Weingartner, president of the special interest group, the American Federation of Teachers, to rewrite Centers for Disease Control and Prevention policies to make sure that schools stayed closed. This was not the pandemic. This was politics. 4 years after the pandemic began, Americans heard Randy and her friends loud and clear. School is not essential. After all, Amazon delivered packages and Uber Eats brought food to our doors, but the schools stayed closed. It was clear what mattered. She goes on as well to talk about in January in New York City, an abundance of migrants invited by the city's politicians were taken to James Madison High School in Brooklyn for overnight housing. The kids went back to their pointless remote learning. It was just for one day, but no one considered closing down a government agency for one day to house migrants there instead. The lesson is always schools don't matter. They can be shut down at any time. Today, schools closed for just about any reason. Schools across the country are gearing up to close completely or end the workday early for a solar eclipse this week. The argument goes that if kids leaving school right around the time of the eclipse, they could look directly at it and hurt their eyes. So, good question.
Yeah.
Are we closing schools too much, too frequently?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we are. And some of that is on the school and some of that is on your parents. That the educational people that are in my family and that are friends, a lot of parents don't care anymore. Literally do not care. The motivation and the necessity of getting the child to school is more of a problem than something that should happen with some parents. Oh, I've told you there's I know someone that works at an elementary school, another person at a middle school, and says routinely the parents will call in to get their kids out 10 minutes early at school so they don't have to sit in the line. And so what is the message you're telling the kid?
In the
carpool line, yeah. And so they don't want to sit in the line, so they excuse their kid 10 minutes early. So what is the message you're sending to the kid? My convenience and what I want to do and what's easiest for me is most important. What you're doing in the classroom is the least important thing at that time. So parents all the time are showing their kids that what happens in the classroom is not important at all. I mean, people get called out for all sorts of things. And one of the problems you've got too right now, and this is just talking about just family situations, are the split parenting situations where it's, a single mom, single dad, but they share custody because they don't communicate very well. And if it is adversarial, the parents will make different choices. And so you will have one parent calling out a kid and the other parent doesn't agree. And that's a huge argument, especially given how that phone tree works. And you even have situations that I'm familiar with, not a ton, but you even have situations where the kid could be staying at one parent's house, but knows the other parent is more lenient and doesn't like the parent that they're with right now. So they'll call the other parent to excuse them. And that parent will, knowing that it'll piss off the parent they don't like. So it's more of a manipulation than is actually doing anything. So they're giving their kid, because again, think about it this way. I dislike my ex-partner. I can make their life difficult. They'll be mad about this. And my kid loves me more because I'm the good parent. Yeah. So yeah, but again,
that's wild.
Yeah. But again, I agree though. The unions did a lot to hurt themselves.
Yep.
This idea that no way, no how, there should have been more of a push that, yeah, we understand this and we are going to at times put our own health at risk. And this is what's going to happen, but we need to get back in school for the kids because we hear from the teachers all the time about I'm spending my own money to make sure my kids have the supplies they need in the classroom. I'm making these sacrifices with my time.
Yep.
So my kids have that time in the classroom. And when we were coming out of the pandemic, I didn't see them willing in some cases. And again, it's a blanket because it's the union. I'm not blaming individual teachers, but the blanket union policy was no. And when you're talking to me and reinforcing all the sacrifices that your teachers are making, and then to say no here, that to me hurt. That hurt your ability to come back to me and talk to me about the sacrifices you're making and the investment you have in the kids. But
that's a good point.
Yeah.
Let us know. Do you think we're closing schools too often for stupid reasons? And what impact is this going to have? Good text message here. Our children can't read or write or do math, but they can stare at the sun. They've got their priorities upside down.
Yeah. And part of it also is we don't hold kids back anymore. We don't, there's no real, the punishments inside of taking the problem kids out of classes and out of the school system. There's a real problem doing that as well. Cause you can't, because where do you put them? How do you house them? You can't not educate them. And if they're a problem in class, the last thing you want to do is put them out in the street and give them the entire day to go and figure out some bad stuff to do. because those kids are not going to say, wow, I've been kicked out of school. Maybe I need to start a charity. That's not going to happen.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and the closing down of schools, if you remember, was one of the primary reasons Douglas County left Tri-County Health.
Yeah.
Because there were a number of schools, ones that our kids go to in particular, that wanted to open up. The parents wanted them open up. The headmasters, the teachers, all wanted it open up.
Yeah.
That was a weird breath. But they and to their credit, Abe Layden, Laura Thomas, George Teal got out of Tri-County Health for a big reason, and that was so that schools could open up in Douglas County.
Yeah, and I think that Tri-County Health was their own worst enemy in that conversation, because they came at it with the authoritarian answer of, no, we're the science hippies.
Yep, exactly.
We're going to tell you what to do, rather than listening to the community. And again, this goes into another conversation we're going to have later, but those people in charge of the healthcare and the health and well-being of those schools and that district should also have a conversation with their patients, those communities, and figure out what they need and what their needs are. I would hate to have my doctor implement any sort of a health policy or wellness policy for me without talking with me about where I am and what I need. And that's what I saw from Tri-County Health. They didn't want to talk to the patient, and they should have known that.
Give us a call, 303-696-1971, or text us on the 710 KNUS app. Let's check in on the news with Blake Olson. Good morning, Blake.
Morning, Jeff. Morning, Bill. 34 and sunny in Denver. Expecting a beautiful day with highs in the low 60s today. The 710 5-day forecast is coming up. Our top story, the attack on guns continues in Colorado. The first gun proposal introduced this legislative session is headed to Governor Polis's desk. The House approved it Monday. The bill would track gun and ammo purchases through payment networks via banks and credit cards. Republican Representative Gabe Evans.
It really just creates more red tape, more hassle, more costs for folks that are making credit card purchases in Colorado, because the credit card companies are going to have to try to comply with something that's just so poorly defined.
The DOJ refusing to turn over recordings of President Biden's interview about his improper handling of classified documents. House Republicans set Monday as the deadline for AG Merrick Garland to release them or face contempt of Congress. Special counsel Jack Smith is calling on the Supreme Court to deny former President Trump's immunity claim. And President Biden will meet with Japanese Prime Minister Fumio Kishida Wednesday. They'll talk chip making, and I'm sure Biden will talk about how he grew up in a Japanese neighborhood. Israeli Prime Minister Bibi Netanyahu says that he has picked a date to start an offensive in the southern city of Gaza called Rafah. They have 40,000 tents ready for people fleeing Rafah. Xcel says 90% of customers who've been without power due to the windstorm should have power back on sometime this morning. 500 utility crew members worked overnight to restore the power. Some Jeffco schools will remain closed today, including 2 elementary schools due to the power outages. The neighborhood in Northglenn fighting to keep registered sex offenders away from their kids, able to get the city council to approve an emergency ordinance increasing the distance from 750 feet to 1,000 feet. That transitional housing for registered sex offenders can be located from elementary schools, churches, and playgrounds. Another gray wolf attack in Colorado. This one occurred in Jackson County, where another calf was killed by one of the 10 gray wolves roaming in the high country. 30 in Parker, 28 in Golden, and 34 in Denver.
It is a Yukon coronation. The Huskies make history. Back-to-back national champions.
UConn runs past Purdue 75-60 to win the NCAA men's championship game last night in hoops. Nuggets return to action tonight at Utah, 7 o'clock tip-off. Avalanche playing host to the Wild this evening at 7:30. And the Rockies, they win 7-5 over the Diamondbacks last night, 6:40 tonight at Coors Field. The award-winning Jeff and Bill show continues. Stay with us. Blake Olson, News Talk 710 KNUS.
The 710 5-day forecast, partly cloudy skies, temperatures upper 50s and low 60s today, mid to upper 30s tonight. Highs will be 55 to 60 tomorrow. Now, today and tonight should be dry. There's a small chance of an isolated rain shower, isolated thunderstorm Wednesday afternoon. Fair and chilly, low 30s Wednesday night. Sunny, low to mid 60s on Thursday, 30s and 40s Thursday night, then warming well into the 70s for Friday through Sunday. Meteorologist Don Day on 710 KNUS.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill show. So what were you saying about crickets?
Yeah, Blake was just telling us that a friend of his in Missouri said all the crickets went nuts during the eclipse.
Do you
Yeah.
Do you really think that happened? I know you said the dog barking. Part of me is just like, maybe dogs were just barking, but we were just paying attention more to it.
No, it's because it would have to do with, one, where the moon is, two, the absence of sun at the time. And even if you went outside pre and post eclipse, you could tell the light was different because of how it was being filtered. I mean, you probably felt it. Again, we had people, why do my eyes hurt? Searching it on Google because they're staring at the sun and stuff. But you could see during that time before and after that the light was different. And the animals absolutely react to that. So, yeah.
I don't know. I think they're just being animals.
Fish react to the tide and the position of the moon. So you can, if you figure out where the position of the moon is, you can actually figure out where to fish in Colorado. But it depends on where the moon sits, because based on where the moon is in the sky, that's the key for when fish in Colorado lakes will start to eat or not. If you know when that hits, you can, it absolutely works. 110%.
That's hilarious.
Yeah.
I don't think.
Yeah, look at the moon.
I think that they're being animals. Chasing food and chasing their mates. Let's go to Jay. You're on the Jeff and Bill show, News Talk 710 KNUS. Good morning, Jay.
Hey, good morning. How are you?
Great. What'd you think of those rolling blackouts over the weekend?
Well, I'm supposed to have some coffee with some folks down in Littleton at Littleton Boulevard in Windermere, which is by Old Littleton. And all those businesses are out. The Starbucks, the workout centers, everything's completely out of power.
They're still out.
However, all the power is underground. It's not affected by wind or trees or anything. And I think they're just doing these rolling power outages, kind of conditioning us for whatever's coming in the future. But
so I lived in California. I was in college during the rolling blackouts that what was that company? Started with an E. Were Enron. That Enron was, and we had to study in the hall, in the stairwells, because of the emergency lights. That's where the emergency lights were. So they would just be filled with college students trying to study because the lights were out. And, that was all planned. That was an accident. The way they sold it was, we've got these, extreme pressures on the grid, and we need to choose who's going to have power at certain points. But no, the whole thing was schemed. I think the Xcel Energy CEO did this to avoid lawsuits.
Yeah.
I mean, if you were the CEO of Xcel, Jay, and you had 300 lawsuits that came from the Marshall Fire, wouldn't you shut off the power too to avoid more lawsuits?
Well, yeah, Xcel doesn't have our best interest at heart, and I knew the CEO of Public Service Company, which was a non-profit. Want to underline that. And when they sold the entire region to Xcel for profit, that's why we're paying $500 for electric bills for houses now.
Yeah, I know Independence Institute is tracking all of those. Jay, I appreciate the call. Thanks so much. So let's go to Frank in Evergreen. By the way, Jay's line is open, 303-696-1971. 303-696-1971. Frank, Evergreen, you're on the Jeff and Bill show. Good morning.
Hey, good morning. You guys always have a great show.
Thanks.
So here's Billy said that schools don't hold back anymore. And I just talked to him. He was referring to public schools. Private schools definitely hold kids back.
Yeah, I agree. And I think that's a huge
money,
advantage.
don't they?
I think it's a huge advantage that private
Pay
schools
another
have.
year.
Yeah. Private schools have a huge advantage over public schools being able to do that.
Yeah. And the other thing I wanted to mention was Billy was kind of implying that there's a difference between the teachers and teachers union. In fact, they're one and the same. And even though they might complain about the school situation, they still vote Democrat for the teachers union. And it's the main reason why we can't get any we get like a half an inch a year progress of towards what do you call it, vouchers and that kind of thing. And
Frank, I'll tell you our experience. Our kids were started in government-run schools, prominent county in Denver, and look, I was educated in public school as well, so we didn't think anything of it. It's our neighborhood schools right down the street. And then our friend said, "Hey, why don't you check out a classical charter school?" And we're like, "All right, we can go check it out." So my wife and I went there, and we were like, "Holy cow, dude!" Level.
My education is public school, and I got a great education. I'm quite a bit older than you guys. You guys are just youngins. But here's the thing, though. That was back when they taught reading, writing, and arithmetic.
Right.
Now the schools are expected to solve all of the world's problems.
Yeah,
and
there's a lot of pressure on
problems, and they have no hope. And that's all political. And until we can break up the teachers union monopoly, which probably won't happen in my lifetime, it's not going to change. It's all just the whole thing is just political.
I think you're right there, Frank, on a point. I think you're right, but I understand that not all the teachers agree with the union, but I understand the idea of them speaking with one voice. But I understand that. But part of it, though, is because of the union is protecting things like their access to health care and retirement and things like that. So there is a
you're a capitalist. You're a capitalist like me, and what the teachers don't get for some weird reason is that they could actually make more money if the union was out of it. If it was if their wages were based on supply and demand, but they don't get that.
Possibly,
they gotta have a union.
Possibly, but my understanding is that the teachers that go to the private schools take a pay cut from public. So I disagree.
I don't know, but
I disagree. I know, but I disagree that would necessarily happen. But where I'm going with this, when we talk about the politics and people wanting to get all the teachers involved in all these social programs, I think is where you're going. And I would disagree that is totally politics, and especially from the union, because if you talk to the teachers, the members of the union, they don't want to do these good society type of programs. They would prefer to stick to reading, writing, and arithmetic. They would like to. However, the kids show up. Yeah, but the reason is the kids that show up at the door are broken so many times. Yeah. If the kids were better citizens, if the kids had better social skills, if the kids, in my opinion, at times had better parents at home, we wouldn't have those classes. If your kid wasn't a monster when they walked through the door, the teachers wouldn't have to spend a half an hour a day teaching them how to act in a society. And that's part of it.
Agree with you more.
Yeah.
Would you have time for another question from one?
Sure, man.
From one independent to another?
Absolutely, my friend. Yeah.
Okay, so I was proud of you for coming clean last week or two when you said you were unaffiliated, but you were definitely leaning left. And I'm just the opposite. I'm unaffiliated, but definitely leaning right. The one question I have is how can you square, to use your terminology, square the circle on your belief in abortion when
that's good.
You're Catholic, and all that, but you still believe in abortion. And how do you square that? I just have no idea how you can do that.
Yeah, that is a really, really good question, and it is a really deep question. And I don't want to do it now because we're going to do abortion later in the show. So what I'm going to do, Frank, is I am going to use what we in the business call the art of the tease. Later in the show, I will absolutely address how I come to that conclusion and why I feel, again, people are going to disagree with me. Why I feel I'm staying true to my... What? Am I what?
Are you allowed to take communion? Because Joe Biden's not allowed to take communion.
Well, that's based on a certain parish and rules that they have. So there are things, and the issue being, I'll talk and address the issue about how I feel I am still being faithful to my church while still at times disagreeing with the conclusions they come to. And I understand where they are on it, but I'll tell you where my position is, but we'll discuss that later because I don't want to get into that now.
Listening.
Hey, I appreciate it. Thank you, sir. It's a great question. It's a really good question and a very difficult one.
Yeah, 8 o'clock hour, we're going to get into Donald Trump and his statement on abortion. And then in the 9 o'clock hour, Marilyn Musgrave. You may recognize that name. Marilyn Musgrave is going to join us, former representative from Congressional District 4 prior to Cory Gardner. I think there was somebody else in between there as well.
There was, yeah. So. Wow. This will be fun.
Marilyn Musgrave, she's the Vice President of Government Affairs for Susan B. Anthony list. So we're going to cover Trump and abortion in the 8 and 9 o'clock hours. You're not going to want to miss that. I've got a statement coming out too.
Yeah, and tune in to figure out why you're going to hate me even more. That'll be fun.
Imagine effortlessly gliding open your cabinets and drawers to reveal neatly arranged shelves that showcase your belongings. With roll-em-out shelves, you'll easily access your pots, pans, and other essentials, eliminating chaos and increasing speed and functionality in your home. Roll-em-out shelves understands that every home storage needs are unique. Whether you're dealing with tight corners or expansive cabinets, your shelves will be custom built to maximize every inch of available space. Joyce and Brent Tolliver, the mom and son dynamic duo, leave satisfied customers wherever they go, and their all 5-star reviews confirm this. Here's what some overjoyed customers are saying. Joyce and Brent listened to our needs, stayed on schedule, and found solutions to our specific problems. We're so happy with our kitchen that we're now planning to do our bathroom as well. When they came out and visited with us, we have some shelves that we already pull out, but they're at a different level, right? We had what are called builder grades. I didn't even know this. I was like, oh, we have shelves. They're like, Jeff, these are builder grade. Let's look at what we can do and the amount of quality that we can bring to this. It was a night and day difference. Begin the affordable transformation in your home for less than $1,000 when Roll-em-out Shelves efficiently organizes your space with sturdy Baltic birch shelves built right here in Colorado and guaranteed for life. Call for your free in-home estimate today. 303-475-9601. That's 303-475-9601 or rollemoutshelves.com. Be sure to tell them Jeff sent you, rollemoutshelves.com. All right, we've got a lot of text messages coming in. Just think about how the rolling blackout would affect families that depend on EVs. Something to consider.
Oh, yeah.
Dude, I do not believe in this. Bill?
In what?
In like how the lunar cycle affects stuff. Look at this.
Absolutely.
Women's menstrual cycles are affected by the lunar cycle.
Yeah, it can be.
No,
Absolutely.
they're not.
Yeah, they can be. Yeah.
And your animals were not affected by the...
Yeah, they are. They're because animals are affected based on the pull, the gravitational pull of the moon.
Eclipse.
They react to it.
I own animals. Do you know what animals care about? Food, water, and a mate. That's the only 3 things they care about.
No, they react.
They're not reacting to the sun and eclipses.
They react to temperatures in the sun, and they react to the moon, and other animals do. Yeah, they do. Yeah.
Don't believe it at all.
No,
all right, we'll get to your calls and text next. You're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show.
News Talk 710 KNUS.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. Great series of text messages coming through here.
Yeah.
Watch the reaction of animals at the Dallas Zoo, Jeff. Apparently I need to go watch that.
Yeah,
because I don't believe that animals freak out about eclipses.
I mean, well, it has to do with position of the moon and things like that, and animals do respond to cycles of the moon. And fish are the easiest ones that we can see in Colorado. They absolutely. And if you know where the moon is and when it rises and sets, that'll tell you the best time for fishing. And that could be sometimes, as we have, the moon may rise at 2:00 in the afternoon. And if that's right, if you got that spot, that's when you go fish. That's when you go.
I get this one that crickets can tell temperature.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
I just don't think that anybody, I think we were just all paying attention. I think we were more sensitive to it. And all of a sudden, dogs are barking and crickets and animals at zoos are acting up. I don't know. I think we were all looking for it. I think they were just being animals.
Yeah. I think there's science behind it. That's okay, though.
Wait, we disagree on this show?
I know.
What
That's
is
strange. That is really weird.
We're talking in the 7:00 hour about this op-ed in Fox News. School's out forever as education bosses use any excuse to skip classes. And this yesterday, they were skipping classes in some capacity because of the eclipse. They were afraid kids were going to go outside to stare at it. So rather than just using it as an educational moment, like our kids' school did, everyone gets glasses, you get to go out and you get to learn about the eclipse and all that stuff. They're actually canceling school, and it raises a bigger question about how good are our schools these days. So when we were talking to Frank earlier, I didn't finish my thought on this, but so our kids went to our local neighborhood school, and then we were invited to go look at a classical charter school affiliated with Hillsdale. And it was like we took a time warp back to the 60s. So all of a sudden the kids are wearing uniforms. You have the American flag. The kids are pledging allegiance. They're learning cursive. They're learning Latin. Mm-hmm. There's no computers in the school. They don't even have computers. So everything is back to paper and pencil. And look, everyone gets to choose what's best for their family. Yeah. But for us, we were like, wow, that is amazing. Like the level of academics, the standards, all that stuff seemed really great. And then we went back to go volunteer in our kids' classrooms. And in our neighborhood school, it was, here's the iPad, go sit in the corner and basically play around with the iPad for a few hours. And so we made the decision to go to a classical charter school. And that first year was incredibly difficult on our kids because the standards were so much higher. They've now adjusted to it. And my daughter was even remarking yesterday in the library, we were at the Parker Library, that she could tell you what the books on Rome were about that were written in Latin because she knows Latin. And she's like, how do I know this? Why am I as a teenage girl knowing this? I was like, that's because you learn it in your schools. But I think there's this element within government-run schools where they just kind of pass the time. Here's the iPad. We could get another day off. We could get another day off. Sure, let's get another day off. And that's going to be a real problem. Yes, it's going to be a real problem for our culture.
I disagree that the function of the public schools is to do nothing for the kids. That's what I'm hearing from you. Is that they would be just happy
there's
if they didn't do anything.
Babysitting that takes place.
Whose fault is that?
Well, I think it's in part the teachers that are in there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So do you think that if the kids came into class well adjusted and ready to learn, they would need to be babysat?
I'm not discounting that there's parental problems. There are parental problems, but if the school has really high standards and is driving hard towards academic engagement, the kids are going to have to respond to that.
Are they?
Are the schools doing that?
No. Are the kids going to have to respond to that?
Yeah, they would have to.
Why?
Because this is what the teachers said.
So, you just push back on the government schools and saying the teachers didn't care. So again, either the teachers care and we have to set that.
Some do. I think some.
Oh no, I think the vast majority do. But the issue that you've got is you're sitting there saying, well, if we set the high academic standards, the kids are going to achieve them. No.
Well, not all the kids respond to it.
Not all the kids are going to. And what do you do when they don't? And what do you do with the kids that then refuse? And that's the problem, is that what we're losing in this conversation are some of these kids are walking through that door broken, and we are expecting the schools to fix them. And that's why they are dealing with these things, like why you have
in part.
Yeah, and
but don't you?
That's why you have a kid that was getting searched because he was bringing too many weapons into East High School and shot administrators.
Yeah,
that's part of it.
That's
that kid.
Absolutely, that's part of it. I'm not discounting that, but you're also laying the groundwork for no meritocracy. Why not set the standard the highest you possibly can? This is what you're expected to do. And if you have kids that are at that level, we're going to take them and really push it to the moon. You have 80% of middle school kids in Denver public schools that can't do math.
Yeah, I know. I understand that. But guess what? The vast majority of parents don't want a meritocracy. If asked, if pressed, they don't want it. The last thing parents want is a meritocracy in their classroom.
Why not?
Here's why. Your child is failing English. No. You're doing a bad job teaching them. It's not my child's fault they aren't turning in their assignments. You're not a good enough teacher. It's not my child's fault they're not doing the reading. You're not a good enough teacher. It's not my fault as a parent that I'm not checking their homework and making sure it's done. You're the teacher. Make sure they do it. I'm sorry. Your child's going to fail this year. The hell he is. I need to talk to the principal or the superintendent now. You will not fail.
Do you think that happens all that often?
I know it happens a lot.
I know it, Matt, a lot. I know there's like some people out there that are like that.
A lot. Just as an anecdote, and this is a little bit different. My son works in attendance in a high school in Cherry Creek.
Yeah.
The number of times over the course of the week that he gets an angry parent dressing him down because the excuse wasn't honored or the excuse and the absence wasn't run through the computer system at the right time, the number of times that he's called names by the parents who were incensed that the school is not doing what they want and not treating their kid right all the time. And I can almost to a T bring teachers forward that say, when I tell a parent their child is failing, it's my fault, not theirs.
Education and behavioral issues begin at home, Jeff. I don't disagree with that. I'm not like totally absolving parents of this, but I also think that there are teachers out there that are happy to hand a kid an iPad and put them in the corner and just be like, yeah, 3:30, I'm off and I'm out.
Yeah. And part of that, in my experience, and I know some of those teachers and I've experienced some of those teachers, and part of that is because they've stopped caring because they can't fight anymore. They can't, like you want, they can't hold the kids accountable. They can't make it a meritocracy in class. They can't take the kid that is acting up all the time and make it angry and flip his desk in the middle of the lesson and storm out of the classroom. So she's now got to take 15 to 20 minutes to figure out what's going on. So it stops everybody from learning. She can't kick that kid out of class. She can't deal with it. She's not allowed to discipline that kid. And oh my gosh, God forbid if she touches the kid in any way, shape, or form, she's getting sued.
Bill, so for that's spanking back in school.
No, I'm just saying this is. The idea is we have this thought that the parents are saying the teachers and whatever you need to do, and I support the schools. They don't. The parents do not want a meritocracy. They want their little bundle of love to be appreciated, to be supported, to be understood, and to be told they're the bestest thing in the world. That's what they want.
I think the parents that are willing to engage in the meritocracy and recognize the importance on how that prepares a kid for the future are probably utilizing school choice to find schools that engage in that.
Yep, absolutely.
And so they're, like,
and
look,
guess where do they go? I'm sorry, go ahead.
If my kids get a bad grade, I've looked at the situation to make sure that the teacher's recording it, right? Because sometimes that happens, right? Oh, yes. We missed. I turned it in, but we missed it. So we call the teacher to deal with it. So it's not always the kid and it's not always the teacher. But oftentimes, if my kid was playing video games over the weekend and didn't turn in the assignment, I'm not calling the teacher to blame them. We're having an honest conversation about priorities and making sure you get your work done and not running off to play and do all those other stuff. So
I agree with you.
Going back to this, though, the original question, are we closing schools too often for too many small things? I'd love to get your thoughts on that. By the way, Corey send him pictures of his kids, his dogs. They're very cute. Yeah. You're always welcome to send pictures of your animals.
Yeah. And call
one of my very favorite bumper stickers is be sure to tell your dog I said hi.
Oh yeah, I like there's one I saw the other day. It says tell your cat I said pss, 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 pss. I'm like, I like that one. And I appreciate what you were saying about the schools, and I think you're absolutely right that the parents that want the meritocracy and accountability pull them out and find private or charter schools, because those schools are allowed to do it. And so what you end up with is the kids that are left behind in the public school are the kids whose parents are really not invested in that. And so it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy, is that you're siphoning out the parents that are the most engaged. You're siphoning out the kids that are most engaged, and you're siphoning out the kids that are most focused on achievement. And then you're leaving the public school to fix all the broken kids, not giving them the tools, and then asking them how they're failing. It's just a self-fulfilling prophecy.
I don't have time to call, but Bill's 100% correct on this. And
thanks,
yes,
Mom. Appreciate
Jeff,
it. I'll call you later.
This is a school principal. And yes, that's why charter schools are successful. Bullseye Billy. A big part of the problem is the parents' fault. They are not doing a good job raising their kids by showing them how to act and interact with others, getting them to study instead of looking at their phones, TV, and games. Much of the problem is kids are being raised by kids who were also not raised in a good home life. The parents can't teach what they weren't taught. Largely, I agree with Billy on this one. The kids are sent to school largely unbroken, a term Jeff should understand.
Yeah, I know a kindergarten teacher that is retired, but lamented about 4 or 5 years ago how she had a child that came into her classroom. The home life was so chaotic, the kid didn't understand that if he wanted a toy or even a piece of food that another kid had, hitting them and pushing them wasn't the way to get it. The kid had no concept of coming up and asking for something. In his household, might made right, that if I wanted it, I had to take it by force. So she had to spend months with this kid wandering around and having to teach him slowly, because it's not going to happen in 24 hours or 48 hours, even a week, slowly, that it's not okay to push the kids, to hit the kids, to go over and just take it out of their hands and then say it's yours. They had the kid taking, I think it was I want to say not an iPad, maybe not, like a little kid's cell phone, like the mom one where you only have 3 you can call mom or emergency on them. And the kid had it in the backpack. They found the kid taking it, and he was going to take it home. He just was going to steal it from the other kid.
So why don't we just bring prayer back to schools?
Not sure that's how is that the solution, though?
Well, at least you're establishing morals and religious values. When you go look at inner city communities, when you poll them and you ask them about the types of schools they would want to send their kids to. So think predominantly single mother, inner city, that type of thing.
Yeah.
If you poll them, they would choose religious schools as the very top.
Yeah.
Because the establishment of morals and religions.
It's no more because the academics, honestly.
No,
it's not
it's the establishment of morals and religions. And it's having good people influence their lives and all that stuff. In my opinion, why not just explode vouchers? Why not allow these people to choose these schools they want to go to?
Because it won't solve the problem. You already can go to charter schools.
It'll have a bigger impact.
No, vouchers, because of the economy of supply and demand, will just end up being a subsidy for rich people who go to rich people schools. It's just going to be a subsidy for people that go to Colorado Academy and Kent Country Day and Regis and Mullen. That's all it's going to end up being, because based on supply and demand, once you increase the amount of money people can pay, the price goes up. So you're just in a few years, you're going to price out those people that can't afford it right now, and you're just going to end up subsidizing education for someone else. So
Corey Nelson's got a good one here. Education's got 3 legs: school, student, and parent. It's not a monopole. Yeah. Students are not widgets to be stamped by the machine. I would appreciate that if we're willing to take that into parental rights in education and not hiding things. Not hiding things from parents too, right? If education's a 3-legged stool, then passing these bills down at the state capitol that allow you to hide gender transitions from parents should be equally rejected.
Yeah,
All right, we'll get to Shane here in just a second. Hey, folks, it's Jeff on behalf of the Colorado Farm Bureau. Whether you pulled out your skis or snowmobiles this last winter, it was a great year for winter fun. But the snow means even more to Colorado's agriculture, and I want you to know that our state's farmers and ranchers are doing their part to protect our future water resources. The people of Colorado agriculture continue improving the efficiency of their irrigation systems and adopting farming practices that help crops use less water to grow. They're planting drought-resistant varieties, and they're leading talks with state policymakers about how to preserve water supplies when we have good years like this last one. My friends at the Colorado Farm Bureau are leaders in water conservation and water policy. They understand how to balance water for crops and water for families, and they're doing more with less. You can do your part. I recommend you join and become a member today. Go to coloradofarmbureau.com. That's coloradofarmbureau.com to join. Shane, you'll be up next. You're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show.
News Talk 710, KNUS.
That's right. Next Friday, Jeff and Bill and Brandon Tatum. April 19th, we'll be at the Black Eyed Pea in Castle Rock, enjoying some delicious food and hanging out with our friends. So you can come by and be a part of the entire broadcast.
Come have breakfast with us. Make fun of me. Taunt me.
We are asking people to refrain from throwing food at Bill, please.
Yes, but we understand how sometimes you just can't control yourself being in this situation. So I get it.
Let's go to Shane in Denver. Shane, you're on the Jeff and Bill Show, News Talk 710 KNUS. Good morning, Shane.
Morning.
Hey, good morning, guys. I wanted to say, Bill, I agree 100% with you. I worked security in the school system for a while, and what I noticed was that the teachers were not empowered to enforce the discipline program. What they were had pressure put on them is to keep the kids in class. So if you had a kid that was acting out, bullying others, disrupting the class, the teacher in the old days used to send them out of class and send them to detention. Nowadays, the teacher gets in trouble for sending them out of class. So the teacher has the word said to them of, you've got to work with the child. So in the meantime of working with the child, trying to keep this kid from having a temper tantrum, all the other kids suffer. And as a security person, you get frustrated because you see that the issue is the one kid, the kid needs to be removed, but the system does not allow that. So all the other kids suffer and the level of education just goes down dramatically.
Shane, I appreciate the perspective because I think, look, the effort coming from Dewey with a public school system was to remove parents out of the equation to be able to control the education of children. And I think what I've heard from a lot of callers and texts and from you, Bill, is that you can't remove parents from the equation.
No, you can't.
You really can't. They're absolutely critical. I would say they're the center of rights and quality education and standards, and you take parents out of the equation and it all falls apart. So
well, and the problem is also is that you have a temper tantrum or acting out of a kid in the classroom. Well, then if you were to remove that kid from the classroom, then you have a temper tantrum from the parent, and the administration will bend to the temper tantrum, and then all the other kids suffer. And
Shane, appreciate the call. Shane
right.
From Denver.
He's
all
so
right,
Shane.
8 o'clock hour. Coming up next, I got a
Oh,
statement on Donald Trump and abortion. You're not going to want to miss it.
Yeah,
You're
miss
listening
this.
to the Jeff and Bill Show.
News Talk 710 KNUS. We're going to try not to get in too much trouble here in a second. Join us.
in the Mile High City. Good morning, Denver. You've tuned into the Jeff and Bill Show, 710 KNUS. I'm your co-host, Jeff Hunt, along with Bill Thorpe, bringing you the freshest insights, hottest takes from the right, left, and center, and sometimes crazy. Depends on who you ask on the text message line.
Yeah.
Another beautiful, gorgeous day in the greatest city in America, and you woke up, so congratulations. We're gearing up for a whole nother hour of engaging discussions, critical analysis, and most importantly, your calls and texts, because this is where Denver's voice is heard loud and clear. So grab your coffee, Denver. Let's dive into the issues that matter most to you right here, right now. We're going to jump in on the news with Blake Olson. Good morning, Blake.
Morning, Jeff. Morning, Bill. 37 and clear in Denver, expecting sunny skies and highs in the low 60s today. The 7-10 5-day forecast is coming up. Our top story, millions of people traveling home from viewing the eclipse will pay higher gas prices. They're highest in California at $5.37 a gallon. But here in Colorado, gas prices are cheapest in the country at $3.06 a gallon. Supporters say it's an effort to prevent mass shootings. Opponents say it's yet another attack on our Second Amendment. The first gun proposal introduced this legislative session is headed to Governor Polis's desk. The House approved it Monday. The bill would track gun and ammo purchases through payment networks. Yes, banks and credit cards. Republican Gabe Evans.
It really just creates more red tape, more hassle, more costs for folks that are making credit card purchases in Colorado, because the credit card companies are going to have to try to comply with something that's just so poorly defined.
Xcel Energy says 90% of customers who've been without power due to the windstorm should have power back on by sometime this morning. 500 utility crew members worked overnight to restore power. Some Jeffco schools will remain closed today until they get their power back. Israel has 40,000 tents ready for people who will flee Rafah in southern Gaza. And Israeli Prime Minister Bibi Netanyahu says that he has picked a date to start an offensive against Hamas in Rafah. The National Association of Intercollegiate Athletics Council of Presidents approved a policy banning transgender athletes from women's sports competitions. The decision does not apply to any NCAA competitions. So the NCAA needs to shut it down and get going on this. Dawn Staley, after the South Carolina championship 2 nights ago, said that it doesn't bother her with men competing against women, which is absolutely crazy. One person has died in what officials are calling a possible road rage crash on the I-25 ramp to E-470. 2 vehicles collided. It occurred Monday morning. The investigation is underway. 33 in Lone Tree, 34 in Westminster, 37 in Denver.
It is a Yukon coronation. The Huskies make history. Back-to-back national champions.
And UConn runs past Purdue, the Boilermakers, in the college basketball national championship last night, 75-60, the final. That's their second straight title. Nuggets return to the floor tonight at Utah, taking on the Jazz at 7 o'clock. Tip-off, Avalanche. They play host to the Wild in Lodo tonight. They drop the puck at 7:30.
Nothing easy for the Rockies the first week and a half of the season, but they secure their 3rd win of the year.
Hey, the Rockies win. Thanks, Drew Goodman. 7-5 over the Diamondbacks last night. 6:40 tonight at Coors Field. Jeff and Bill, they continue on Tuesday morning. Blake Olson, News Talk 710 KNUS.
The 7-10 5-day forecast, partly cloudy skies, temperatures upper 50s and low 60s today, mid to upper 30s tonight. Highs will be 55 to 60 tomorrow. Now, today and tonight should be dry. There's a small chance of an isolated rain shower, isolated thunderstorm Wednesday afternoon. Fair and chilly, low 30s Wednesday night. Sunny, low to mid 60s on Thursday, 30s and 40s Thursday night, then warming well into the 70s for Friday through Sunday. Meteorologist Don Day on 710 KNUS.
All right, you're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show. Donald Trump put out a statement on his position on abortion yesterday. Here it is in its entirety.
Under my leadership, the Republican Party will always support the creation of strong, thriving, and healthy American families. We want to make it easier for mothers and families to have babies, not harder. That includes supporting the availability of fertility treatments like IVF in every state in America. Like the overwhelming majority of Americans, including the vast majority of Republicans, conservatives, Christians, and pro-life Americans, I strongly support the availability of IVF for couples who are trying to have a precious baby. What could be more beautiful or better than that? Today, I'm pleased that the Alabama legislature has acted very quickly and passed legislation that preserves the availability of IVF in Alabama. They really did a great and fast job. The Republican Party should always be on the side of the miracle of life and the side of mothers, father, their beautiful babies, and that's what we are. IVF is an important part of that, and our great Republican Party will always be with you in your quest for the ultimate joy in life. Many people have asked me what my position is on abortion and abortion rights, especially since I was proudly the person responsible for the ending of something that all legal scholars, both sides, wanted and, in fact, demand be ended. Roe v. Wade. They wanted it ended. It must be remembered that the Democrats are the radical ones on this position because they support abortion up to and even beyond the 9th month. The concept of having an abortion in the later months and even execution after birth, and that's exactly what it is. The baby is born, the baby is executed after birth, is unacceptable, and almost everyone agrees with that. My view is now that we have abortion where everybody wanted it from a legal standpoint, the states will determine by vote or legislation or perhaps both, and whatever they decide must be the law of the land. In this case, the law of the state. Many states will be different. Many will have a different number of weeks, or some will have more conservative than others, and that's what they will be. At the end of the day, this is all about the will of the people. You must follow your heart, or in many cases, your religion or your faith. Do what's right for your family and do what's right for yourself. Do what's right for your children. Do what's right for our country and vote. So important to vote. At the end of the day, it's all about will of the people. That's where we are right now, and that's what we want, the will of the people. I want to thank the 6 justices, Chief Justice John Roberts, Clarence Thomas, Samuel Alito, Brett Kavanaugh, Amy Coney Barrett, and Neil Gorsuch, incredible people, for having the courage to allow this long-term, hard-fought battle to finally end. This 50-year battle over Roe v. Wade took it out of the federal hands and brought it into the hearts, minds, and vote of the people in each state. It was really something. Now it's up to the states to do the right thing. Like Ronald Reagan, I am strongly in favor of exceptions for rape, incest, and life of the mother. You must follow your heart of this issue, but remember, you must also win elections to restore our culture and, in fact, to save our country, which is currently and very sadly a nation in decline. Our nation needs help. It needs unity. It needs us all to work closely together. Democrat, Republican, liberal, conservative, everyone, we have to work together. We have to bring our nation back from the brink, and that's where it is. It's at the brink, and we will. We will do it. I promise you, we will do it. Always go by your heart, but we must win. We have to win. We are a failing nation, but we can be a failing nation no longer. We will make our nation great. We will make our nation greater than ever before. Thank you very much.
Donald Trump's statement on abortion yesterday. I'd love to get your thoughts on this. What did you think of it? 303-696-1971, 303-696-1971, or text us on the 710 KNUS text thread. This is a big issue he has to deal with, a very big issue.
Yeah, it is.
The Democrats are going to try to force this to be the number one issue. It was in Joe Biden's State of the Union. We're going to trust women on this. We're not going to get the government involved. We're going to restore Roe v. Wade. That was the argument from the Democrats in order to elevate this issue. Charlie Kirk called it a masterful statement by Trump on abortion. Pro-life leaders I've spoken to are very happy. Trump is clear on the moral position of abortion, reiterated he is glad Roe was repealed, and then sends it back to states for the battle to be waged. Here is my thoughts on that statement. The battle for the sanctity of life is the civil rights battle of our lifetime. To date, over 60 million lives in America have been lost due to abortion. Abortion is premised on lies. Lies that a child is just a clump of cells. Lies that children are too expensive or too burdensome. Lies that your problems will just go away with an abortion. Lies that there is no God that authors life. Since our party's founding, Republicans have provided moral clarity in our culture, often unpopular at the time. We spoke prophetically into the culture. Men cannot be property. We do not judge someone by the color of their skin. Women have the right to vote. Mr. Gorbachev, tear down this wall. And today, life begins at conception. Into a dark culture riddled with death and human suffering, we speak. In the words of Dr. Robert George, that all members of the human family, beginning with the precious child in the womb, are bearers of inherent and equal dignity and are entitled to the law's protection. This is affirmed in the latest Republican Party platform, which says we assert the sanctity of human life and affirm that the unborn child has a fundamental right to life which cannot be infringed. In yesterday's statement, Donald Trump did not stand for life. He didn't stand against it in the way Joe Biden and Democrats do, but he did not take a morally courageous stand for life. I also recognize that the sanctity of life at this time is a losing issue at the ballot box. Every effort to stop abortion or protect life at the ballot box has failed since the fall of Roe v. Wade. We are attempting to force something into law that the public is not ready to embrace, and in doing so, we are asking our elected officials to advance policies that are often against the will of the people. In contrast, other social movements have done the opposite. They have made their policies acceptable in popular culture and then moved towards enacting laws. The work of the pro-life movement ahead is monumental. We need to better serve women facing a crisis pregnancy, teach the sanctity of life in our pulpits, train the next generation to be pro-life leaders, shape the popular culture that people consume freely, and find incremental ways forward while still proclaiming the truth. Trump was right in many ways with his statement on abortion. Democrats are the radical ones, embracing abortion up to moments before birth and even supporting execution after birth. States do have the right to shape their own laws on abortion, but America, as we've learned throughout history, will face a national moment of conscience. When Lincoln first took office, he wasn't the diehard abolitionist we think of today. Many, including Frederick Douglass, saw him as too moderate and too slow on the issue of slavery. But the faded winds of history forced him to address his generation's central question regarding slavery and the dignity of man. President Trump, Mr. Lincoln could not ignore the moral realities of slavery for long. You may be able to sidestep the moral question of abortion for election purposes for now, but you, our party, this country will face the moral civil rights question of our generation, which is, when does life begin? Who gets to decide? And what rights are attributed to that person? I will proudly stand with President Trump in the 2024 election. The radical bloodlust Democrats have for unrestricted abortion must be contested. And at the same time, I pledge to continue the cultural, educational, religious, and legal work that is necessary to not just make abortion illegal, but unthinkable as well. Those are my thoughts on President Trump's abortion statement yesterday. I'd be happy to take your calls. Let's have this conversation.
And I think he took the worst possible stance he
and
could have.
Let's tell us why.
Because his stance makes nobody happy. He carved out that the states should be allowed to make the rules. And you and I won't assume this, but I would guess that you would feel that post-Dobbs, when you heard a lot of people on the conservative side of the aisle say, this is finally what we wanted. Now the states get to choose. This is what we wanted. I heard it for the 48 hours after Dobbs. This is what we wanted. That wasn't really what they wanted. What they really want is a nationwide ban. And that was just a talking point for that day. That was just a celebration point for that day, that it's not really about letting the states make the choice. And I believe that if the Republicans get a hold of the House and the Senate, they will pass a national abortion ban. We can debate what that looks like, but I'm convinced they will pass that ban, and I don't know what Trump's going to do with it on his desk. So by him saying we're going to let the states decide, he angers both the Democrats and the Republicans. As we saw with Mike Pence, he's not true enough to the cause. It's a slap in the face. And you think that this is going to persuade anybody that is on the liberal side of things, Democrat, or even the squishy middle, this is going to persuade him to vote for Trump? I disagree. I think he has picked the absolute worst position he could have here.
Do you think it takes away the attack that the Democrats would have against Trump, that he would support a national ban on abortion?
No, only because in that entire 4 minutes and 20 seconds, he never addressed it. He never said so. And that will be a question. And this is going to be, for me, on a side note, and this hopefully, Jeff, you can play along, and listener, you can too. This is a game that we should play in the next 4 or 5 months. Who's the reporter that has the spine to ask Donald Trump, if it hits your desk, would you sign a national abortion ban? Who? And the issue is this, and this is what's telling about it. If Donald Trump's answer is anything other than no, he's going to sign it. If he does something about, well, I will have to see what that, anything other than no, he's going to sign it. But who in the journalistic realm has the spine to ask that question? That's the game I'm going to be playing for the next month or so. I hope someone else plays along with me.
I think they will, because they want that. They want that talking point.
Yeah, but here's the thing: is imagine if you're in a situation like right now. If we were interviewing Donald Trump, that would be a very dangerous question for you and I to ask him, because as soon as he hems and haws, then either he's going to be agreeing with your position or be closer to mine. So it's a dangerous, dangerous question. So his press managers have to really be strategic about what opportunities he takes, because if he gets in front of the wrong one, it's going to be really bad for him, in my opinion.
I want to go back to your statement on states' rights. So the argument that conservatives made following Roe is that the people should be able to come up with the law. Now, the people could come up with federal law, or they could come up with state law. Now, there are some in the conservative movement that go, no, I want this purely as a states' rights issue. I do not want this federally mandated at all. But it wasn't a blanket states only. The argument from conservatives was that the people should be able to pass laws based upon their positions on abortion.
I could agree with you. That may be the position, but that was not the messaging 48 hours after Dobbs. The messaging universally was, now the states get to choose. States get to choose. States get to choose. This is great. States get to choose.
They do.
I know, but that was the 48-hour messaging that this is what we wanted to go back to the states, not let's let the people choose, because the last thing in the world the Republicans really want is to let the people choose. And the reason being, if we had a vote on a national abortion ban, it fails. And you know
right
that
now it would.
Yeah, and
I
you know
think
that,
right
and I
now
know
it
it. So,
would.
so that's the idea. That's where I disagree with you on the idea of letting the people choose. No, 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 no. They want people to choose in certain areas where that choice can be controlled. It has nothing to do with the larger scope of the electorate actually choosing. Nothing to do with that at all.
Here was Mike Pence's statement in response to Donald Trump yesterday on abortion. President Trump's retreat on the right to life is a slap in the face to the millions of pro-life Americans who voted for him in 2016 and 2020. By nominating and standing by the confirmation of conservative justices, the Trump-Pence administration, he was very important. It was very clear his point, reminding people it's the Trump-Pence administration, helped send Roe v. Wade to the ash heap of history where it belongs and gave the pro-life movement the opportunity to compassionately support women and unborn children. In the landmark Dobbs decision, the Supreme Court returned the question of abortion to the states and the American people. The American people elected presidents, senators, and congressmen, and a majority of Americans long to see minimum national protections for the unborn in federal law. But today, too many Republican politicians are all too ready to wash their hands of the battle for life. Republicans win on life when we speak the truth boldly and stand on the principle that we all know to be true. Human life begins at conception and should be defended from womb to tomb. However, much our Republican nominee or other candidates seek to marginalize the cause of life, I know pro-life Americans will never relent until we see the sanctity of life restored to the center of American law in every state in this country. You had a lot of takes on this in the pro-life movement, and it split either way. Some people felt that this was a good take, because, again, it goes back to the states. We do not believe that anything's going to be passed nationally at any point right now. So why not allow the states to continue to do this and have those battles at the state level, and then take it out of the hands of the Democrats during this election to drive so strongly for it. Others felt that we need to have a bold pro-life voice. We should never back away. This is the civil rights issue of our day. Where did you fall along the lines on this? Was it a good statement? Did it change your mind on Donald Trump by any stretch? Are you pro-choice, leaning now towards Donald Trump because of that statement? Or are you pro-life and now you're leaning away from Donald Trump because he's not as bold and strong as you'd like him to be? My take on this, it reminds me of Abraham Lincoln, his first election, where, some tendencies towards getting rid of slavery, but Frederick Douglass was very open in his frustration that the real abolitionists were not the nominee from the Republican Party, that Abraham Lincoln was a little slow to get to this issue, but the issue was coming his way anyways, and he had to deal with it. And my hope is that, while I think Donald Trump was trying to be pragmatic here, this is a moral question that's not going to go away in our culture, and he's going to be forced to deal with it.
Yeah.
And I wish he would stand up more boldly on the sanctity of life. All right. You want to go to Bill and Parker?
Yeah, absolutely.
Bill, you're on the Jeff and Bill show, News Talk 710 KNUS. Good morning, Bill.
Good morning.
Good morning, Jeff. Good morning, Bill. So I had a question about the exception for rape. Do you agree with that, Jeff, first of all?
I do not.
He's not. Okay. Well, then you might not be the best person to ask this question to. My question was going to be, if it's okay to abort a baby who's a result of rape, is it okay to kill that baby when it's 2 years old because it was a result of rape? Obviously, the answer to the question, second question is probably no, which would make the answer to the first question also no. Which
That's
I think
correct.
You already agree with.
That's correct.
Okay.
I do not believe. So I believe that, right, that life begins at conception. So it is an individual, unique life. That individual, unique life did not commit the rape. It was not part of it. And so you're taking out a death penalty upon that child. I just don't agree with the exception on that.
Right. And I assume that's the position of most evangelicals.
And most Catholics, I think, as well. Well, it depends on their commitment. But yeah.
Okay. Then I'd just like to say Trump's position to me is a complete cop-out. We went through the states' rights thing during the Civil War. You can't have some states with a right that is fundamentally violates other human rights, and some states that have the opposite position.
Yeah.
To me, it's just, you can't have that.
Our country, to your point, Bill, our country does not allow those to just sit. We believe passionately in moral right or wrong, right? And what slavery started out with was, well, we're going to allow some states to do it, but we're going to allow some states to ban it, some to do it. And the real fight is going to be on whether or not we allow new states coming in to embrace slavery.
Right.
But at the end of the day, the moral question at the foundation of all of that was whether or not a Black person was property or a man with rights and dignity. And you just couldn't have a country that allowed for both of those to be held at the same time. The moral question that this country's facing, and I don't think we're going to go to civil war over this, but it's a question that's got to be answered, is when does human life begin? Who defines it? And when are legal rights attributed to that life? And so it's going to continue, and he's going to have to face it in the same way Lincoln did.
And I have another question for you. I think there's a petition going around here in Colorado, state level,
yes.
Which I think is a personhood amendment, basically.
Yes.
I don't know if you're familiar with what I'm talking about.
Yep.
And this
It's
has gone
Initiative
down in flames,
81. Initiative 81.
Right.
Yep.
This has gone down in flames 3 times in Colorado.
Yes.
I guess my question is, from a Republican point of view, is it a good strategy to motivate Democrats to come out to vote against this thing, and so they can vote for every D they find on the ballot while they're voting against this thing?
Yeah,
we down in flames.
We talked about Initiative 81 when we were down with the state assembly because they were collecting signatures there. So Initiative 81 would criminalize all abortions, period. So it's essentially a personhood amendment, and I have supported some personhood amendments in the past. The problem I have with this one, again, it's the similar problem to the legal analysts from the Archdiocese of Denver had, focused on the family, even Colorado Christian University, are we at a point in our culture where we're ready to imprison women for having an abortion? So if you deem it murder, right, there are consequences to that. And the legal consequence to that is if a woman gets an abortion, she is going to be charged with first-degree murder. And do I understand the logic behind it? Like, yes, if this is a human life, you take the human life, it is murder, all that stuff. But there's realities on the ground with regards to the art of the possible. Politics is always the art of the possible. And typically people have moved their social agendas through incrementally. So let's go back to slavery. You got abolition before you got emancipation. Abolition was you stopped the slave trade. William Wilberforce was key in this, and he stopped it by not declaring a hard stop on abolition. He had to go through it. It had to do with a law that he was able to get passed by flags on the back of ships. And then they paid all the pro-slavery lawmakers to go to a racetrack that day. He was sly, he was sneaky, but he was able to end the slave trade incrementally and then change culture over time and get to a place of the total emancipation and freedom of slaves. I think we as a pro-life movement can believe we could just solve it all. If we just got to personhood, we solve it all. Are they wrong? Not necessarily, but you think you're going to get to that after we had 50 years of legalized abortion in this country? 50 years of that was Roe v. Wade. And in 2024, within 2 years of the fall of Roe v. Wade, or 3 or 4 years of the fall of Roe v. Wade, we're now going to criminally prosecute anybody who gets an abortion. And you think you're going to win on a vote on that? That's the challenge I have on that. Go ahead.
Trump is on the record as supporting that position. He said the woman has to pay a price. If you remember that, I think it was some of those. She has to be accountable, meaning legally accountable, meaning criminally accountable for having an abortion. He said that in plain English.
Yeah, I mean, I understand the logic of it, and look to it what Lincoln had to do following the end of the Civil War. You can either go and now prosecute everybody who ever owned a slave, or, you try to keep the Union together and you figure out ways to incrementally move your issue forward. So Yeah, you can take the strong opinion on that. It's not logically wrong. It's the question I have is, are you going to win? Are you going to achieve that in Colorado in 2024 when abortion is probably the most passionate thing that Democrats have? Are you going to win? And
not just the Democrats, but unaffiliated. I think the Democrats are going to beat this drum. They're going to beat this drum, and they're not going to let anybody forget that Donald Trump overturned Roe v. Wade, and they're going to show, all these clips of him saying 6 weeks was a big mistake in Florida and all this stuff. They're going to have a field day.
In the statement that we just played, Trump takes credit for overturning Roe versus Wade. So the Democrats are going to have to work at it. And that's part of the weakness I feel in his position here and his statement is that he doesn't satisfy anybody. And if anything's going to push people away from his more moderate position on the Democrat side, they view this as more moderate than a full ban. That statement about taking credit for it torches it. They're not going to do this anymore with them.
Bill from Parker, I appreciate the call. Thanks so much. We'll get to Stephen here in just a second. Bill's line is open 303-696-1971. Your home is a significant asset, and choosing the right team to help you sell it can be the difference in thousands of dollars in your pocket. I highly recommend Gay Ribble and the Empower Home team, the realtors I trust. Empower Home team provides exceptional service, invaluable advice, and employs unique systems to maximize the money you can get for your home. Getting an offer above your home's asking price is great, but you're leaving money on the table. By not working with Gay Ribble and the Empower Home team, Gay and her experts get the clients an average of $30,000 more. Could you use an extra $30,000? That's precisely why you need Gay Ribble and the Empower Home team. Their exclusive database is filled with pre-screened buyers ready to make a purchase. Take the stress and hassle out of selling your home while getting the best price. Here's an unbeatable offer. Gay Ribble and the Empower Home team will sell your house for 100% of the asking price, or Gay will pay you the difference. It's an offer you simply cannot refuse. Get 100% of your asking price guaranteed with Gay Ribble and the Empower Home team. Call 833-301-SOLD. That's 833-301-SOLD. Or go to gayhasthebuyers.com. That's GAYE hasthebuyers.com. Here's a text message, 3034. I think a lot of Americans are in the middle on the abortion issue while the extremes get all the media attention. Trump has secured his base and is looking to steal some independents who don't want Biden, but we are afraid of the conservative abortion stance. Do you agree with that or not? Give us a call. Aaron, Steven, you guys are up next. You're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show.
News Talk 710, KNUS.
We're going to have fun that April 19th, as Brandon Tatum was just talking about. The Jeff and Bill Show will be at the Black Eyed Pea in Castle Rock from 6 a.m. to 10 a.m., broadcasting live there and enjoying their delicious food. So come on by, hang out with us, be a part of the show.
I'm a little worried. There's a text message that said, see you guys on the 19th. I'm worried it's a threat at me.
From Lisa?
Yes, I'm worried that she's threatening me. I'm not saying I wouldn't deserve it. I'm just saying I'm a little worried. So, yeah, I hope to come out and see everybody. Come up and tell me why you dislike me or what you like about the show, and then come have breakfast with us. It's going to be a lot of fun. You're going to get a chance to meet Brandon Tatum, our new guy, in the afternoon. But more importantly, see the silliness that goes on as we're doing this ridiculous thing that we call talk radio in the morning. We'd love to have you out there with us and have breakfast. We really appreciate it.
It's going to be a really fun morning.
It really will.
You'll enjoy it. We're talking Donald Trump's statement on abortion, whether or not you agreed or disagreed with it. I read a statement just previously on it. My position is that it reminds me of Lincoln in his first presidential. There were people in 1860 that were far more abolitionist than Lincoln was. Lincoln was kind of the moderate, but the faded winds of history is what I called it in my statement, that just pushed him to have to deal with this. And as you know, the sanctity of life is the most important thing for me. I think he was relatively weak on that yesterday, but I hope, I think he's got to get elected president because of the Democrat position on abortion is just horrible. But I think he's going to have to deal with this, and he needs to prepare himself, and I wish he'll get stronger and more bold on it. Your position, Bill?
Oh, we're going to do this one now, or do we do it later? Do we tease them? Because Frank earlier was asking me about it, and so I've been preparing it. Something, again, I'm trying to be brief. I'm trying. But let's do this. We got some full lines. Let's make them wait a little bit longer because, again, not a surprise. My position is complicated and in some ways can even disagree with itself. So, yeah, it's going to be interesting. We'll get to it later.
Let's get to Stephen in Littleton. Stephen, you're on the Jeff and Bill Show, News Talk 710 KNUS. Good morning, Stephen.
Hey, fellas, I'm 73, and I've seen this whole thing played out.
Wow.
And, back in the 60s, the Catholic school girls would be, or the girls that were Catholic and maybe in public school at any rate, you wouldn't see her for a while.
Yep.
And then you'd see her. Well, here's the deal, man. Barack Obama really helped me out with this because he said, never underestimate Joe Biden's ability to bleep things up. Well, this is what I believe about the true believers in life on anything. The most dangerous people in life are true believers.
Ooh.
And the true believers of the pro-right, of the pro-life people are going to bleep up another election. You got to win. It's like a game of chess. If you got two good chess players, it doesn't just 8 moves, the game's over. It's a beautiful game, and you got to take incremental steps. And I thought Trump's position was brilliant. I'm a one-issue voter since the late 80s. I've been aware of the border problem, and I'm not brilliant. I'm not a college graduate. I saw this coming, man, and we got to shut the border down. We got to build that wall, and then, get some young blood into the Republican Party and move forward. And we just got to win this election.
Now, Steve, I've got a question for you. Now, as important as this election is to you, do you think Trump's position is going to help or hurt him with the persuadable voters? Your opinion?
Well, I sure hope it does, because you just can't eat an elephant in one bite. So I hope it does, but I don't know. I'm not, I don't look. I try and pick out who's going to win the Masters and put more energy into that than.
That's good for your health.
Hey, Stephen, listen to. I don't know if you listen in the 6 o'clock hour. In the 6 o'clock hour here, we do something called You Choose the News. We do a little bit of silliness. If Jeff,
I hear you guys.
Oh, good. So if Jeff or Blake chooses correctly this Friday, I have got a Masters story for you that is going to be entertaining. But that's only
awesome.
if my co-host takes it correctly. So you got to be with us the 6 o'clock hour on Friday. Okay, my friend?
Okay, you might want to take the guy who just recently won, Ash, the Indian guy.
Yeah.
He's a lefty and he can cut it, and you got to draw the ball if you're a righty and he's long.
Yeah.
He's not a bad shot.
And left is a huge advantage if you can play it right in golf. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, enjoy you guys' show.
Steven,
And,
thank you.
Have a great day.
Appreciate the call. Steven's line's going to be open. Steven from Littleton, thanks so much.
A lot of pressure on you for Friday.
696-1971.
Otherwise, you're disappointed.
303-696-1971. Or text us on the 710 KNUS app.
Yeah, call us.
Let's go to Aaron in Denver. Aaron, you're on News Talk 710 KNUS. Good morning.
Good morning there, gents. Tiger Woods will win the championship. Bet your money on him, because I know every time wherever he plays on planet Earth, all eyes will be on Tiger Woods. So
Is he still active? I don't follow golf.
Well,
I know
yes,
drove
he
a
is, and
car
no, he
into a
isn't.
tree.
But yeah, well, again, we'll talk about that later. Yes.
Yeah, but the thing is, though, I also want to commend Bill for all the debating he did down in Pueblo this past summer, taking all these people on. I said, you go, Bill, with your bad self. I mean, it was some great stuff what Bill was doing there.
Hey, Aaron, if you show up on the 19th at Black Eyed Pea, if it works in your schedule, man, if you do it, you and I are going to take a pro wrestling photo together like we're a tag team, okay? If you're there on the 19th, man, you and me, you got to come up and say hi, and we'll do that, okay? I'm sorry. Continue.
Yeah, no problem. Great stuff. And the thing is, what Trump said, it's walking a tightrope. I mean, no matter what Trump how he walks that tightrope, he's not going to please anybody. No matter what position Trump is going to take on abortion, I'm still going to vote for him anyway, because there's so many other issues affecting this country. It's not just abortion. I mean, like the caller said, what's going on the border, the national debt. I mean, it goes on and on and on. The abortion issue is one of the issues, but it's not the issue.
Yeah. Now, Aaron, the Democrats are going to try to make it the issue, at least for them. Do you think Trump's position can persuade any of those squishy, I would say unaffiliated and people that lean Democrat, people that are more amenable to the Biden message, but given Trump's statement, can he persuade them? What do you think?
He may persuade some, but obviously he's not going to persuade all, because no matter what issue Trump takes on the issue when it comes to abortion, either they're going to vote for him or not. So, I mean, even he knows that. I mean, before Trump became pro-life, he was pro-choice. So, I mean, I'm pro-choice. And when it comes to abortion, I mean, even you debated, about miscarriages.
Yeah.
I heard the debate you said down in Pueblo.
That was fun.
You're going to charge a woman with manslaughter because she has a miscarriage? Well,
No.
Of course not. You're going to charge a woman for having abortion for murder? Well, of course not.
Yeah.
I mean, just think about it. That's insanity. I mean, just hearing that stuff is crazy. So, I mean, Trump, what he said, he's just being rational, being logical, and being reasonable when it comes to the issue. No matter whether you're pro-life, pro-choice, you got to be reasonable with the situation. And when it's all said and done, she gets pregnant. See, I'm a man. I don't get pregnant. I can't hold a woman I can't have a baby for 8 or 9 months or how long she is. But when it comes to abortion, obviously, if a woman is a healthy woman, healthy baby, you want to make sure that woman has give that a baby up for adoption. There's many other options. Well, I'm going to kill my baby at 8 months. That's nuts. That's crazy. That's insane. No, give your child up for adoption.
That's right.
So, I mean, I have no problem with what Trump did. I think it was the right thing. But no matter what, either you're going to vote for the man, or you're not going to vote for the man. It doesn't matter.
That's
Aaron from Denver, thanks so much for the call. That was a great call.
Yeah.
303-696-1971. His line will be open.
I like his perspective that perhaps because Trump took the states get to decide, it will give some of those squishy voters permission to come across the line and say, I don't really agree and I'm worried about the abortion issue, but because he's stronger on these other issues like immigration that are up there with me, I can excuse that one because he's at least letting my home state choose.
And he's got the background of ending Roe v. Wade, so it's not like he's totally pro-choice.
That's interesting.
Look, if you're losing your hair and you need a simple solution that works, you want the best. Modern technology with top-rated physicians, something that's guaranteed to work. Guys, you need to call Dr. Tanya Pauls and her team at Advanced Hair. They've completely redefined hair restoration, from the experience itself to their unmatched results. Receding hairline, bald spot, thinning hair, address them all with Advanced Hair's simple one-day treatment in a calm, relaxed environment with the most experienced professionals. Advanced Hair has performed tens of thousands of these breakthrough treatments. And get this, your own natural hair begins to regrow the very next day. No one in Denver can offer anything like the advanced FUE found at Advanced Hair, and I highly recommend their team. It starts with your free consultation. Call 720-459-HAIR. If you qualify, you also get $250 off and 250 free hair grafts. Refine your hairline with a team that's redefined hair restoration. 720-459-HAIR or advancedhair.com. That's advancedhair.com. Dean, you are going to be up next. You're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show.
News Talk 710, KNUS.
All right, you're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show. We're talking Donald Trump's position on abortion. Let's go to Dean in Denver. Dean, you're on the Jeff and Bill Show, News Talk 710 KNUS. Good morning.
Good morning, guys. Thank you. Yeah, I have to be quick here. As usual, I'm calling you guys while I'm driving my work truck. One of these days, I'm going to get fired or something. But, hey.
We got a lawyer. Maybe Dan Kaplan's going to help you out or something. We'll take care of you.
Oh, okay. I like Dan. Hey, abortion rights. It's not perfect, but I'm really happy with the way things are right now at the state level, having rights at the state level. So clearly what you're going to have is some states are going to be excessively restrictive and other states are going to have no restrictions whatsoever. I think it's great. In a way, to me, it's drawing lines. And I think we're coming to a time where we have to start drawing lines. And very smart people can now work upon this new system and say, for example, well, Colorado, if you are going to allow such extreme late-term abortion, we're simply not going to do business with you anymore. So I think this is a very good start.
Dean, the reason I'm involved in abortion issues, for instance, has nothing to do with the fact that I would get an abortion or someone close to me would get an abortion. It's because that preborn child is a human being with rights, and we're killing him or her. Are you okay with states doing that?
Well, Colorado is. Not every state is.
But I mean, are you okay with states doing that?
Well, it's better than what we had.
Yeah, I agree with Roe v. Wade. It's definitely
done
better, but I don't necessarily agree that it's okay with the way that states are doing it. Like, it's bad.
As far as I know, Colorado has no restrictions whatsoever, which tells me that what is that? Up to the day of birth?
Yeah, I think we're one of 7 states in the nation that have no restrictions. I think the number was 7 last time I counted.
Yeah, so I disagree with your premise that the way that things are set up now is okay. I think it's definitely better, but I'm advocating that
if you don't like the fact that you
lives.
live in a state that is offering late-term abortions, move away from that state.
It sounds
and if
like
I don't want,
slavery
I mean, I'm a Republican. I can't stand living in Colorado anymore because of this and other reasons. But we'll be drawing lines, we'll say who is who in this nation.
But it didn't work with fundamental human rights issues around slavery either. We tried to draw lines and it didn't work. Our nation wouldn't allow it. This moral question we're going to have to face.
When companies stop doing business with states, for these type of reasons, the political environment will change. And this philosophy can be moved to all of our major issues in this country, including guns. You want to be a state that takes away the guns of all your citizens? Go ahead.
No, but then what's the Second Amendment?
You want to be a state that allows open carry? Go ahead.
Yeah, I in some capacity, you have some state rights, but there are universal rights that the Constitution gives you, including the Second Amendment. And I don't think it's fair that the Second Amendment can be applied in some states and not in other states. It's a uniting constitutional document for the United States.
These are new times. So what you will have is political migration. And the political map of this nation over time, not a long period of time, will change.
I think there's truth to that, but we're not one nation anymore. We're not one nation anymore.
That is where we are headed anyways.
Ooh.
That is the clear trajectory.
Dean from Denver, interesting call. Appreciate it. Thanks so much.
Hope he calls back.
Marilyn Musgrave's going to be up next.
Wow.
You're not going to want to miss. The conversation continues. Jeff and Bill Show.
News Talk 710 KNUS.
Good morning, Denver. You've tuned into the Jeff and Bill Show on 710 KNUS. I'm your co-host, Jeff Hunt, along with Bill Thorpe, bringing you the freshest insights and hottest takes from the right, left, center, and crazy. It's going to be a beautiful day in the greatest city in America. We're gearing up for a whole nother hour of engaging discussions, critical analysis, and most importantly, your calls and texts, because this is where Denver's voice is heard loud and clear. So add another cup of coffee to your morning. Let's dive into the issues that matter most to you right here, right now. Coming up in just a second, the Honorable Marilyn Musgrave. That's right. You remember she served as a state senator here in Colorado, leaving office to run for Colorado's 4th congressional district, where she served from 2003 to 2009. She's now the vice president of government affairs for SBA Pro-Life America. We're going to get her response to Donald Trump's statement yesterday.
I mean, she's got this reputation.
We're the number one show in Denver, Bill.
I know we are, but I'm like, why is she talking to us? I'm wondering if she got this, like someone dared her or something. Yeah, I dare you, go talk to these two clowns. I'm excited to talk to her. It's really
It'll be great to connect with the Honorable Marilyn Musgrave. Let's go over to Blake Olson with the news. Good morning, Blake.
Morning, Jeff. Morning, Billy. 42 and sunny in Denver, expecting a gorgeous day with highs in the low 60s. Today, the 710 5-day forecast is coming up. Our top story, one person seriously injured after they were extricated and taken to the hospital following a crash this morning on the frontage road near Hawley and I-70. The frontage road was closed in both directions this morning. Senator Lindsey Graham is going against former President Trump on abortion. The South Carolina Republican said that he respectfully disagrees with Trump's statement that it should be a states' rights issue. The parents of Michigan high school shooter Ethan Crumbley are set to be sentenced soon. They were convicted in separate trials on 4 counts of involuntary manslaughter for the 2021 shooting deaths of 4 students. They will be sentenced together. The attack on guns continues in Colorado. The first gun proposal introduced this legislative session is headed to the governor's desk. The House approved it Monday. The bill would track gun and ammo purchases through payment networks via banks and credit cards. Republican Representative Gabe Evans.
It really just creates more red tape, more hassle, more costs for folks that are making credit card purchases in Colorado, because the credit card companies are going to have to try to comply with something that's just so poorly defined.
The DOJ refusing to turn over recordings of President Biden's interview about his improper handling of classified documents. House Republicans set Monday as the deadline for AG Merrick Garland to release those or face contempt of Congress. The special counsel Jack Smith is calling on the Supreme Court to deny former President Trump's immunity claim. And President Biden will meet with Japanese Prime Minister Fumio Kishida on Wednesday. Hopefully, the phone won't ring on Kishida and Biden when they meet. They'll talk about chip making and other things. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has picked a date to start an offensive in the southern Gaza city of Rafah. They have 40,000 tents ready for residents who need to flee. Xcel says 9% of customers who've been without power due to the windstorm here in Colorado should have power back by sometime this morning. 500 utility crew members worked overnight to restore the power. It is 38 in Castle Rock, 39 in Lakewood, and 42 in Denver. UConn runs past Purdue in the men's college basketball national championship game last night, 75-60. Nuggets return to action tonight at Utah at 7 o'clock. Avalanche playing host to the Wild at 7:30.
Easy for the Rockies the first week and a half of the season, but they secure their third win of the year.
The Rockies win 7-5 over the Diamondbacks last night. 6:40 tonight if you want to see Major League Baseball at Coors Field. The award-winning Jeff and Bill show continues on Tuesday morning. Blake Olson, News Talk 710 KNUS.
The 710 5-day forecast, partly cloudy skies, temperatures upper 50s and low 60s today, mid to upper 30s tonight. Highs will be 55 to 60 tomorrow. Now, today and tonight should be dry. There's a small chance of an isolated rain shower, isolated thunderstorm Wednesday afternoon. Fair and chilly, low 30s Wednesday night. Sunny, low to mid 60s on Thursday, 30s and 40s Thursday night, then warming well into the 70s for Friday through Sunday. Meteorologist Don Day on 710 KNUS.
You're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show. Joining us is the Honorable Marilyn Musgrave. She's the Vice President of Government Affairs at SBA Pro-Life America. In 1994, she began her career in politics, defeating a two-term Democrat in the Colorado House and serving from 1995 to 1999. After her position in the House, she became a Colorado state senator from 1999 to 2002, leaving to run for Colorado's 4th congressional district, where she served from 2003 to 2009. She and her husband, Steve, reside in Colorado with their children and grandchildren. Yesterday, SBA, Susan B. Anthony, Pro-Life America, put out this statement in response to Donald Trump's announcement about his position on abortion. We're deeply disappointed in President Trump's position. Unborn children and their mothers deserve national protections and national advocacy from the brutality of the abortion industry. The Dobbs decision clearly allows both states and Congress to act. Saying the issue is back to the states cedes the national debate to the Democrats, who are working relentlessly to enact legislation mandating abortion throughout all 9 months of pregnancy. If successful, they will wipe out states' rights. Congresswoman Musgrave, thanks so much for being on the Jeff and Bill Show.
Did you draw the short straw or something at the office? That's why you had to join us? Is that it? How'd you do this? Good morning.
Marilyn. Good morning. Call me Marilyn. It's been quite a while since I've been in Congress. And I have to tell you, I read President Trump's statement very early in the morning, and it did not get me off to a good start on my day.
Why was it frustrating to you and Susan B. Anthony, Pro-Life America?
Well, first of all, we live in Colorado, and with the trifecta that the Democrats have in Colorado under Governor Polis and the Senate and the House, they can't get enough of abortion. They, every time we turn around, they're trying to expand it, have taxpayers pay for it. And it's like that in states like New York and Illinois and California. So we have many states, pretty much half the states that are, pro-life in this country, passing pro-life laws. And then we have other states like New York and California and Colorado that, all no restrictions whatsoever on abortion for any reason. And what is happening is we've seen Gavin Newsom, the governor of California, put up billboards in pro-life states with scripture on them, things like love thy neighbor as thyself, trying to get women in those pro-life states to come to California and get your abortion. It's abortion destination. Colorado's doing the same thing. It's abortion tourism. And then we have not only these governors and state legislatures, I'll say recruiting women to come to their pro-abortion states. They also are putting money in their budgets to pay for travel for these women to come to their states. So boy, do we ever need a federal minimum standard to protect life.
Some groups, including Charlie Kirk over at Turning Point, have called the weak kind of deadline for abortion at the federal level, let's say it's a 15-week ban or something, they call it arbitrary, and it could harm states that want to bring it even earlier. What's your response to that?
Absolutely not. Do I believe that life begins at conception? I do, and love Charlie Kirk. But in the legislation, it allows states to go further. And believe me, we want states to go further in protecting life. So what we're looking at, though, is political reality. And in this country, people don't want late-term abortion. So you know what? I have no apology for wanting to save as many lives as we can along the way as we try to change hearts and minds in this country to see the value of the unborn child.
Do you think his position yesterday, Donald Trump's position yesterday on abortion, is going to help him in the election? Do you think that, or is it going to harm him? Do you think people are going to get frustrated with his squishiness on this?
Well, I don't understand his political calculus, but my goodness, he's been president, But the way I look at it, and really, states, leaving it to the states is a position that doesn't really make people happy, whether they're pro-abortion or pro-life. So I don't really get the political calculus there. When we have states that, like New York, California, Colorado, what they're effectively doing is setting the policy for the entire country, again, when they're trying to get women to come to their states to get abortion. And then something that a lot of people are not really aware of is we also have abortion pills through the mail. And so it doesn't matter if you live in pro-life Alabama, and if you're a child conceived in those states, but abortion pills come through the mail, and a girl, maybe forced by a sex trafficker, can have the abortion just by taking this medication. So it's a whole new world with the life issue these days. There's so many things going on, but when you talk to the American people, 7 out of 10 people, when polled, do not support late-term abortion. What they do support is reasonable limits on abortion. And when we look at the 15-week legislation that has been championed by Lindsey Graham, he speaks so eloquently about how when an unborn child, when they do surgery in vitro, the doctor considers they have 2 patients. And the baby is being operated on. It has anesthesia because the baby can feel pain. So that is how the 15 weeks legislation came about. It's like, how about we start here? How about we limit abortion at the point in the pregnancy where the unborn child can feel pain? And when you look at,
go ahead.
And I'll come back.
I was going to just let people know we're talking to Marilyn Musgrave, Vice President of Government Affairs for Susan B. Anthony List. Please continue. We're talking about the 15-week ban.
Yes, 15-week limit. I was going to say it's amazing when you look at European countries. 47 out of 50 European countries limit abortion at 15 weeks or earlier. So my goodness, you're looking at international standards. And I mean, usually we consider Europe liberal, right? Well, hey, we're out of step with international standards on protecting life.
Yeah, I've never understood the just total rejection of any type of standards whatsoever. And even further than that, preventing people from serving women why they have abortion so that we could go upstream. So if it is a poverty-related issue, if it's an abuse-related issue, we can go and try to stop those so that women aren't having abortions. And then now in the state of Colorado, you have the targeting of pro-life organizations. So if they want to try to encourage you to adopt the child or foster the child, or even want to provide resources for you to be able to care the child for yourself. The Attorney General of Colorado is going after to prosecute those people. It's this weird, bizarre love affair with totally unrestricted abortion whatsoever, with no type of common sense restrictions on it. Marilyn Musgrave, Vice President of Government Affairs, Susan B. Anthony List. You all have been very active in a series of ballot initiatives all around the country, and we're not winning on these ballot initiatives, even in traditionally Republican states. What's going on here? Why aren't the pro-life side winning?
Hold me to answering that, but may I go back to the pregnancy resource centers that you were talking? Oh my gosh, we have these centers, and everyone ought to go visit one. They are there for women and girls regardless. And I mean, they are there whether you say I'm getting an abortion, whether you go through with the abortion, or whether they're saying I need help. And what the heck happened to choice? We've heard that word. We want women to have choice. Okay, give them a choice. Show them the unborn child in ultrasound. Get them to a pregnancy resource center where if they're homeless, if they're in an abusive situation, if they have addiction problems, somebody is there to help them. If they need educational opportunities, if they just need diapers, if they need a car seat, whatever, people are there ready to help them. Let's give them a real choice. There are over 2,700 of these pregnancy resource centers around this country. And I'm telling you, they are showing unconditional love, no judgment for these women and girls walking the door. And why did the Democrats in Colorado not want to give them the opportunity to do this?
Exactly. And the fact that our Attorney General is, with all the crime problems that we're facing, he's like, you know what, we really need to focus in on those little church-run pregnancy resource centers. Give me a break. But going back to the ballot initiatives, many of us conservatives and pro-life Republicans have looked at these ballot initiatives, and we've been a part of them, and they're not winning. And I know it's not just a money issue; it's a cultural issue. What's the background on our problems winning at the ballot box?
Well, I agree with you on cultural or money, because I tell you, you look at these ballot initiatives, and there really is no debate. There's no debate. It's not like you hear this side and you hear this side and you can make an educated decision. No, it's almost always he who has the most money wins. Mm-hmm. And, I looked up something, and don't hold me to this, but I think the last time a ballot initiative was on I think it was the 20-week limit on abortion. If I'm remembering correctly, the pro-life side raised $750,000, about that area. And you know how much the pro-abortion side spent? $9.7 million. How the heck do you combat that? I mean, it's crazy. And so people, they see all these lies come out on, and they keep lying and lying. And the pro-life side, they just can't compete with that kind of money. So I believe that people are not getting the real story on these ballot initiatives. But I have to tell you, it sets the national narrative, and it is so discouraging. I can remember way back in the day when I thought, darn right, we'll just put something on the ballot, and, those legislators aren't doing their job. And I got a whole lot wiser as I went along. It's much better to elect the right people to the legislature and work for them, and oppose things that come in the legislature that are wrong. And I mean, my goodness, look where Colorado has shifted. But if you think ballot initiatives are the answer, I love the people that put forth these pro-life initiatives, but it's not wise, because there's not ever a real debate where the voter gets the information that they need.
Now, Marilyn, I want to kind of explore that a little bit, and it's a little bit outside the conversation. It has to do with the idea of money being raised on either side. And I hear from both sides, Democrats and Republicans, when they're outspent, that, oh gosh, we were out fundraised, we were outspent, and that was the problem that would cause us to lose this race. But I go back to some of the court cases and people advocating for political donations, amounts, how I can donate, and even letting companies donate because they have speech. Isn't the fundraising maybe a mechanism of support and or speech? That I just, what I'm having a hard problem with is lamenting a lack of fundraising, but then we also defend the fundraising is speech. And so what I'm curious about is, could it just be that the position being taken in Colorado is unpopular in Colorado, based on pro-life?
Well, I think that Colorado definitely it could be called a pro-choice state. But I also think that voters in Colorado, given the accurate information about abortion on demand for any reason, anytime during the pregnancy, funded by your tax dollars, and if people really knew, these brutal late-term abortions are taking place, I believe they would make a different decision. But if you talk to the average person when they look at that ballot and they see all this verbiage, do you think they really read that?
No, I don't think they do. But what I think they look at is the idea of, I mean, I hate to say it, go back to their word, but go back to the idea of choice. And I think that's where the pro-life side, in my opinion, is having a struggle right now with convincing people, because the people that talk the people talk all the time about individual choice and individual freedom, then turns around and say, in this case though, you can't make that choice. And I think that's a difficult sell.
Well, it is a very difficult sell. Do you think they've won the language war or what? Heck yes.
Yeah, and I think I think the pro-life seeded some of the language war too. Yeah.
Well, seeded it. The national media picked it up and ran with it, and I mean, there's a lot of issues with, darn right, I like choice. I want choice. I want to be independent. But what you got to consider is there are two individuals here. And what about the choice of the unborn child? What about choice for women who need help but can't get it? What about choice for girls who've been abused and can't get help, but abortion just takes care of the problem? It's really hard to get the truth out there, but we need to do it. But I think you've really hit upon, what people think superficially, right. A woman should have choice, control of her own body. Well, there are two bodies there, but science is on our side. Young people are becoming more and more pro-life. And oh my goodness, the ultrasound where you can see that little baby moving around in its mother's womb, those things are winning. But I'm telling you, when you throw millions of dollars up, you lie. I saw ballot initiatives where, women who ads would go up for women who had ectopic pregnancies couldn't receive medical care. Candidates in campaigns where a candidate would be accused of not even supporting an exception for life of the mother or rape and incest, and they were flat out lies.
Yeah, and you're right. And you're right that as long as we are talking about money being equated with speech, we're going to have these problems. I've got another question for you. Marilyn Musgrave, former Colorado senator, joining Jeff and Bill. Want to talk about Donald Trump's specific statement? And I understand again. I should make sure that we identify that Marilyn Musgrave is here. She's Vice President of Government Affairs for the Susan B. Anthony list. They put out a wonderful pro-life statement yesterday. And the question I have is, do you think Donald Trump would sign a national abortion ban if it hits his desk?
I hope he would. I would say to you that when he was president, he was the most pro-life president we've ever had. He of course, changed the Supreme Court. I mean, my goodness, we wouldn't have the Dobbs decision if the Supreme Court didn't have a majority of conservative justices who don't want to reinterpret the Constitution. So I will give Donald Trump all the praise in the world for what he's done in the pro-life arena. I do not know why he's taken this back to the states position. Again, I don't think it makes anybody happy. But I will tell you that I know exactly what President Biden, if reelected, will do. He will push abortion in every way, just like they're doing in Colorado. He's trying to push the so-called Women's Health Protection Act, which would go further than Roe v. Wade, and hold on to your wallets. We'd all be paying for abortions with our tax dollars. So we know exactly what the Democrats, sad to say, not rank and file Democrats, but elected Democrats in Washington, D.C. and in the state of Colorado don't want any restrictions on abortion at all. So I'll give Donald Trump all the credit in the world for what he did for the life issue when he was president. And again, I hope that if federal legislation, a minimum protection, a national standard in protecting life, if that legislation came, I just hope and pray that he would sign it into law.
Talking with Marilyn Musgrave, Vice President of Government Affairs for Susan B. Anthony List. Marilyn, in 2016, Donald Trump picked vice presidential candidate and then Vice President Mike Pence in order to shore up his support for evangelicals, which evangelicals make up the biggest voting bloc of the Republican Party. Now, Donald Trump's delivered on Roe v. Wade. Do you think he needs to pick a pro-life vice president, especially after yesterday's speech, in order to shore up his commitment to the sanctity of life?
Well, I hope that he will. I know Mike Pence personally, and I still remember the day that that announcement was made. And, you know, President Trump had been pro-abortion in the past. You know, he'd been all over the place. And I have to tell you, when he picked Pence, that gave me a great deal of certainty that, you know, that the life issue would be addressed in the way I wanted it to be. Again, standing up for the most innocent and vulnerable among us. So I hope that President Trump will do that. And I think he needs to send a message to evangelicals, to pro-life Americans, that he does see that this is a human rights issue of our time, and that those unborn children deserve protection, whether they live in Colorado or New York or Alabama. Geography should not determine whether or not we see there's a role in government protecting the most innocent among us.
Marilyn Musgrave, Vice President of Government Affairs for Susan B. Anthony List. Liberals in Colorado are pushing a ballot initiative now that will likely require Coloradans to use their tax dollars to fund abortions in the state of Colorado. This was previously banned in the 90s. They want to kind of turn that over, use taxpayer dollars to fund it. What's your read on the state of Colorado? Do you think that will pass and be approved on the ballot and then be victorious in the November elections?
You know, their appetite for abortion is insatiable. It seems like now Colorado is infatuated with death. It is just mind-boggling. I hope and pray it's not. There are many people that call themselves pro-choice that say, but wait a minute, not my tax dollars. So I hope that Colorado wakes up on that issue and says, no. I went grocery shopping. Was that in front of Safeway the other day, and there was a guy there, you know, with the petitions, the paid petition carrier. Just like, oh my gosh, Colorado just can't get enough of this. So it's very disheartening to me as someone who was born here and we've raised our children here. And I just think, what in the world is happening to our state? So I'm very hopeful that that's going too far. Even with the ballot initiative proposal like that, that's too far.
Marilyn Musgrave, Vice President of Government Affairs, Susan B. Anthony List. You may recognize that name and that voice. She served the state of Colorado for many years, State House, State Senate, and then was a member of Congress from 2003 to 2009. If you want to learn more about Susan B. Anthony List, you can go to sbaprolife.org. That's sbaprolife.org. They have a statement out in response to Donald Trump's position on abortion yesterday. Look, This is going to be one of the biggest issues talked about in this election. It's going to be the border, and it's going to be abortion issues. So if you want to join a wonderful pro-life organization out there providing scorecards, engaged in elections, advancing the sanctity of life, go to sbaprolife.org and learn more about the Susan B. Anthony Pro-Life America organization. Congresswoman Musgrave, thanks so much for being on the program. I appreciate it.
Great to be with you guys. Thank you.
She's a strong, bold voice for the sanctity of life in a crazy state like Colorado, which I always appreciate. So it is amazing to me. Bill, is it amazing to you at all that there is just no restrictions whatsoever in the state, not even surveying why women get abortions, going after these crisis pregnancy centers? Like, would you, and we could talk about your position on abortion, but would you at all promote any types of these restrictions, or you think we're just going too far?
I think that the Democrats in Colorado do go too far. I think there can be reasonable restrictions. The problem that I think is in the discussion is I don't think that either side are really honest brokers. I firmly believe that the pro-choice side does not want many restrictions, if any at all. And I firmly believe the pro-life side wants a complete and total ban. So I feel that any of those conversations about should we do 15 weeks or 22 weeks or 24 weeks, or should we just make it the first 2 trimesters, or is it the first 6 weeks, or whatever it is, I don't believe either side is coming to the table being an honest broker. I think either side looks at it and goes, we'll just get this, and then later we're going to get that. Whatever it is.
But that's most of politics. Even if you did that with guns, like we're talking about the guns issue today.
I totally
tracking
get it.
your banking statements if you buy bullets.
Oh, I totally get it. But that's why I say that it's hard for me to have a conversation, because I don't believe either side really wants to find a compromise. I believe both sides
they're fundamentally different worldviews.
And they're dogmatic about it. And so that's why we get to a point of you can't give an inch. That's why neither side wants to, because they're both dogmatic. And we don't fundamentally, as a country, we don't while I believe most of Americans want a compromise, I don't believe either sides in the issues. Those people that are out there doing the fighting, they don't want to compromise. So,
but they're willing to settle for it. Like, for instance, I would, the way I'm an incrementalist. I know there's some all in type of people. Believe me, in the pro-life movement. But I'm an incrementalist, and I would sign any type of ban that saves a life. I would be happy to save a life.
Yeah, and see, the thing is that you're just looking at any ban. And so the issue, and that's where it becomes
limited
difficult.
Bans,
I know, but
like that.
I know, but this is where it comes back to Donald Trump's statement. When Donald Trump's statement is finally, hey, it's finally where it should be. It should be allowed. The states are allowed to choose, and the people are allowed to choose. Neither side is happy with that. Neither side is actually happy with letting the people choose. Neither side would be completely happy with having a national referendum. Are we going to fully legalize it? Or are we going to ban it? Neither side would be happy. And God forbid we try to float a national thing that would give us a compromise about 22 weeks or 15 weeks or whatever it is. That's never going to happen. So that's the problem I have, is I don't think either side really comes to the table looking for a solution.
Give us a call, 303-696-1971, 303-696-1971. Text us on the 710 KNUS app. What did you think of Donald Trump's statement on abortion? What do you think of Marilyn Musgrave's response to that? What did you think about my statement? We'll take it all. Joy will be with you in just a second. Jeff Hunt here for my friends at Dan Caplis Law. Dan suggested you choose a lawyer who shares your values, because who you choose to represent you in an injury case says a lot about you to everyone involved in the case. Dan Caplis is the son of a police officer. Dan is also a former seminarian. Dan has dedicated the last 40 years of his life to helping people who are hurt in serious motor vehicle crashes. Dan is believed to be the only lawyer in Colorado history to win 5 straight multi-million-dollar verdicts in Colorado crash cases. Dan is also believed to have won the largest truck crash verdict in Colorado history. Dan Caplis Law is the official law firm partner of the Denver Nuggets and the Colorado Avalanche. It was really cool to be down at the Nuggets game and see Dan Caplis Law everywhere. Dan Caplis is Dan Kaplan's Law is a serious firm for serious cases. Dan accepts righteous injury cases on a percentage fee basis so that he can represent good people from all walks of life without regard to ability to pay. If you need Dan's help, call 303-770-5551 or hit dancaplislaw.com. That's Dan, C-A-P-L-I-S law.com. All right, Joy, you'll be up next. You're listening to The Jeff and Bill Show.
News Talk 710, KNUS.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. We've got nearly full lines. We got one open if you want to give us a call, 303-696-1971. What do you think of Donald Trump's statement on abortion? Did it strike the right tone? Did he back off what should be a commitment to the sanctity of life? How are Democrats going to use abortion this election? It is an issue that, according to the American electorate, sways in their direction. So how is this all going to fit together, especially this election and in this state of Colorado? Let's go to Joy Overbeck. Joy, you're on the Jeff and Bill Show, News Talk 710 KNUS. Good morning.
Morning.
Good morning. Great to talk to you, gentlemen. I'll tell you what, we were supposed to have that red wave last election. Remember that at the midterms?
Oh, yeah.
Guess who single-handedly destroyed our red wave? I mean, put us underwater big time and caused us to lose the red wave in so many elections across the country. Lindsey Graham. How did he do that? He put forward a bill to ban a national bill that would ban abortion in all the states, a federal bill. And that's just epic foolishness. And this is the kind of thing we're talking about with this initiative 81 or whatever it is, putting women in jail for having an abortion. I talk to a lot of conservative women. I'm very conservative myself. I hate abortion. Everybody who has a brain hates, and especially us Christians, we hate abortion. But to tell women that they're going to be put in jail, it's just absolutely breathtakingly silly and wrong and foolish. And this kind of thing brings out all the Democrats who never vote, especially young people. What they did during the midterms, the Democrats put all over Instagram and Facebook and TikTok, the Republicans are going to put you in jail. And that was a lie at that time. But now they can do it with impunity because this is true for this initiative. And by the way, I noticed that you guys didn't ask Marilyn Musgrave what she thought about putting women in jail for having an abortion.
Yeah, we didn't do that because it's to us, like you, we think that that's way too extreme. Oh, whoever you have in the closet there, you got to let them out eventually because they're gonna break out. But I think that
they're working on my roof. I'm sorry.
Oh, sure. No, whatever it is, you have to tell the police about who's knocking when they show up. We'll back you up. No, I'm kidding. I'm just teasing you. I'm totally teasing. Yeah, I'm totally teasing. Yeah. The reason we didn't address that personally, the reason I didn't is because I feel the idea of saying, hey, we need to put these women in jail is as absurd as you outline it, that it becomes such a danger to the pro-life side.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And as a matter of fact, my good friend, Juliana Day, who went to the title board and got that initiative, Proposition 115 on the ballot, which would stop late-term abortion. She couldn't even get the pro-life groups, the big pro-life groups here in Colorado, on her side because they want a total ban. They want a total ban.
The division in the pro-life community is very sad. Joy, thanks so much for the call. We'll get to you next time when there's a little less hammering.
Yeah, or whoever it is escapes.
Yeah, right.
Whatever it is.
Let's talk to Ralph in Colorado Springs. Ralph, you're on the Jeff and Bill Show, News Talk 710 KNUS. Good morning, Ralph.
Good morning. Remember that this is the minority in the United States talking, you, me, and Bill. The problem is the same problem as the Dred Scott decision.
Okay.
Dred Scott was a slave.
Yep.
His master took him to a free state. That was the problem.
Mm-hmm.
Was he still a slave?
Yeah.
What you have with the abortion is a fetus, is a human being, taken into a state where it is not a human being.
And then executed.
And yes, well, and the question then becomes, what happens when someone from Texas, say it has a 16-week limit, comes here, has an abortion of a 20-week-old fetus, goes back to Texas. Texas, in order to have a criminal law system that is uniform, must prosecute, or at least manslaughter. This is not a good solution for anyone.
The state by state solution, is that what you're talking about, Ralph?
Precisely.
Yeah. And Ralph, you got a good point too.
And that is precisely what Justice Taney tried to solve with Dred Scott. He said, no, you have to have a uniform law for all of the states. Well, he chose the wrong one, perhaps, but you've got the same problem here. Unless you say that a woman who goes to another state and comes back to her own state is not subject to her own state's law.
Yeah.
Remember?
Now, here's the thing. That's the question that I have on this one, Ralph. I like where you're going, and I think that it's very insightful to make the Dred Scott comparison because of the issue of bringing the slave into a free state. Is that slave then granted freedom, or is it still the property of the person who brought him there because they were enslaved when they entered the state? The question I have is, can we then have Texas prosecute someone for a crime they commit in Colorado? That's the only legal hurdle I see in this conversation. I'd be curious, but I think you've got an excellent point because we have states that are outlawing it currently, trying to say if you leave our state and get an abortion. So you're right on that one. Yeah,
precisely. Unless Texas says you are not guilty, you are guilty of manslaughter if you have an abortion here in this state. But if you go someplace else, we're going to close our eyes and not notice it when you come back and you're not pregnant.
It's a moral question, and our country doesn't allow those to just
moral questions.
We answer them. Slavery was wrong. You cannot treat people like property. We do not judge somebody by the color of their skin. Women can vote. We answer these questions as a country. We do not just allow states to just kind of do their one-offs.
Wait a minute. We answer these questions as a country in a constitutional amendment.
Yeah.
The women got to vote only by constitutional amendment. Slaves got freedom only by constitutional amendment.
Sometimes
do you think we're going to have a constitutional amendment in the near future?
No,
I think it's going to take a lot of work.
Yeah. Now, Ralph, I got a question for you, Ralph. Donald Trump's position on saying it's good that it went back to the states, is that a positive for him? Is it going to help him in the election, or does it hurt him in the election? Your opinion?
2 points. One, wishy-washy. And two, I think Trump is becoming a Washington swamp critter. He's taken a middle-of-the-road position.
That makes sense.
Very interesting. Yeah. And I saw that on some posts yesterday online where people go, where's the fighter? Where's the guy that's very bold on where he stands? He's willing to throw some haymakers and look, this is who I am.
Yeah, it's a great critique.
Yeah, Ralph, thanks so much for the call. Ralph's line is open 303-696-1971. 303-696-1971. No, let me get over to the right page here.
You're going to do a commercial, and then we got a commercial break. And if we have time when we come back, I will finally explain to everybody my position on this issue.
You've heard a lot about how treating low testosterone can improve your sleep, your workouts, your energy levels, and more. But I want to talk to you about your love drive, because low testosterone can have a significant impact on your desire for intimacy. And if you're in a relationship or wanting to be in a relationship, a low love drive can be a real problem. There's good news. Go to RockyMountainMen'sClinic.com and take the Low T quiz on their website. It's a simple 10-question quiz with yes or no answers, and it only takes 2 minutes. Then schedule a consult with Rocky Mountain Men's Clinic. A Colorado licensed medical provider will review your results with you and discuss your options. Cost of the appointment is only $99, which includes medical consult, a T and PSA test. If you sign up for the testosterone treatment the day of your appointment, well, your visit is free. Rocky Mountain Men's Clinic has served the Front Range of Colorado for nearly a decade and successfully treated tens of thousands of men. Call them today at 720-440-7900. That's 720-440-7900, or visit RockyMountainMen'sClinic.com. That's RockyMountainMen'sClinic.com. We'll hear from Bill next. You're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show.
News Talk 710, KNUS.
right, Bill, we finally get to your position.
Yeah. Here's the thing. I side with a lot of what Marilyn Musgrave said. I believe that abortion is the physical manifestation of a larger issue. The problem is we're trying to outlaw the symptom. We're not dealing with the larger issue.
Mm-hmm.
For me, it's a question of free will. But abortion, again, it's a symptom of a larger problem and one that we don't want to address. Outlawing it isn't going to stop abortion.
What's the larger problem?
I don't have enough time. We can talk about that tomorrow.
All right, we'll talk about it tomorrow. You've been listening to the Jeff and Bill Show.
News Talk 710, KNUS. Have a great day.